Welcome to Sic'em365 Radio.
Here's Brewer. Steps up and throws. He's got a man open. Caught! Atkinson down the sideline. Big play from Baylor.
Sic'em365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Brewer over the middle. He's got a man in stride. And walking into the end zone is Josh Fleeks with the touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Brewer looking to the end zone. He's got a man. Touchdown.
Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on this Wednesday afternoon, Sic'em365 Radio, and we'll hear from Tristan Clark, who yesterday announced his retirement from basketball. Tristan Clark and his emotions, along with Scott Drew and Flo Thamba. One of those will have to pick up the slack with Tristan Clark out, and did back in January or whenever it was of 2019. Flo Thamba's minutes went up to 10 minutes a game. Obviously, Freddie Gillespie then emerged, but they'll have JTT along with Flo Thamba and others, and we'll get to that in just a second, what it all means. But not a good day today for the Baylor class of 2021. National Signing Day, of course, coming up in about a month, and then eventually again in February. Byron Murphy, who joined us, he committed to Baylor from DeSoto. He's a dude. He's one of those, you don't have many of them. He decommitted earlier today. Grayson Grude was all over this earlier today on the premium section, that there was thoughts that I think the 247 had said, hey, they now crystal ball was to Texas. Well, a little bit after that time, Byron Murphy announced his decommitment, thanked Baylor, the coaches, etc. And it wasn't just within an hour or two later, he was in a Texas jersey and committed to Texas. He's about to be a four-star defensive tackle. Now, I talked to Claude Mathis, the DeSoto head coach, about this. He had told me, and Craig Smoke, Paul Catalina, David Smoke here on Sic'em365 Radio, that Byron had turned down about a dozen different schools, and a lot of them, some of them, a chunk of them, were from the SEC along with others. He had also said no to Texas. He said maybe 6 or 8 times. But Texas also recruiting Shamar Smith at DeSoto, a 5-star talent. And now Byron Murphy and Shamar Smith, by the way, when he saw that Byron Murphy was committed to Texas, had those bulging heart eyes like you love something. And so, Craig, you follow recruiting a lot more than I do or Paul does, but this is a kick in the gut to their 2021 class.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. I mean, it's one of the best players they had ranked, if not the best player they had ranked. And I don't know, I'm not following recruiting in the daily, additions or subtractions to guys' ratings and things like that. So I'm not sure, in the grand scope of Baylor's class via every outlet of exactly where he ranked. But he was at the top or near the top of every single site that covers recruiting. So, anytime you can get a blue chip defensive lineman to add onto your team, that's a huge addition. And Baylor, they've got some good young D linemen, but you got to keep adding to that and keep feeding that group. And here was a prime opportunity to do that, and instead you're going to have to face him for the next 4 years or so. Big loss for you, a big addition for one of your opponents that you're going to be facing year in and year out, and just typical Texas, man. I mean, they could go 0 for 12 every year and somehow still find ways to convince guys to flip commits, and get these high-rated guys. It's just the pull of the brand, I guess. It's not the brand of football, but look, Baylor hasn't really taken advantage of their momentum either. They've had this recruiting class intact now for months. There's been, an addition here, subtraction, I think, once or twice, but this has pretty much been their class. And, with the lack of momentum, thanks to the season and the results, they haven't, really had a lot to really go out there and promote. And, that was one of the things I think people started to become afraid of when the losses piled up, was not so much the losses, but, okay, what effect does this have? What effect does this have in the locker room? Also, what effect does it have in recruiting? Well, I don't know if the season itself is the reason why Byron Murphy decommitted, but if they were like 5-1 right now, I don't know if this is happening.
Well, and that's why I called Claude Mathis, who I've known for quite a long time. And he told me, again, he doesn't know. He just knows that all of a sudden, Byron Murphy, you could tell there was a change of heart in what his commitment to Baylor. And that's when he said to me, listen, he's turned Texas down a bunch. Now you have the two receivers that both Masters and Presley, and now Byron Murphy. And I don't know, Craig, and again, I don't follow this as much as I used to because there's so much flip-flopping and decommitting. And that's not to say anything negative about who does it. Go where you want to go in the end. But these are three of their highest-rated players, am I correct, other than Kyron Jones, the quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, these are all their top commits. And, one's now going to Cincinnati, and one's going to Auburn, and one's going to Texas. And so that's three guys in the last month that not only decommitted, but knew exactly where they were going the moment they decommitted because they all flipped to a school rather than, opened it up and waited a couple of months and did all that jazz. I mean, if you're opening it up now, it's not like you're going on any recruiting trips. So all this recruiting's being done online and over the phone and things like that. And, I mean, I don't know what's being said other than the typical things, but I'm sure people are negative recruiting Baylor. It's easy to do that right now. And plus, if you're a wide receiver and you're looking at that offense, I mean, are you really thinking, hey, man, I'm going to go light it up. I'm going to go have 1,000-yard seasons? Probably not. And I'm sure there's coaches who want to go get Randy Masters like at Cincinnati going, look at our offense. Look at their offense. What would you rather play in? And, not necessarily the case with the defense, but, hey, he's got a teammate that's probably headed there. The burnt orange has that pull. It never has for me, but it does for kids that grow up playing football in this state. So it sways somebody once again.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to retain people when you're not winning. And you have to have a lot of belief in the coaching staff to do that. And there's a lot of recruits they have that certainly do. But at the end of the day, you gotta win. You gotta win to kind of.
This is the day after Tom Herman just had his 2 days after he had his 5-minute pulpit about recruiting, negative recruiting, and here they are. They get a 4-star. They're probably the leader, possibly for Smith. I don't know. But, yeah, you're right, Paul. And winning cures all. Not only would it cures a lot of people, but the fact is that this has happened before. Baylor, even when they have won Big 12 titles, even when they went 11-3, it is hard for them when it comes to certain positions. I mean alpha dog type linemen, to keep them from some of the other schools that are bigger and blue blood type programs. Remember Spencer Drango was the exception. Most of their offensive linemen ended up being guys from transfers in junior college or guys that just beefed up over the years under Randy Clements and eventually under George DeLeon, Sean Bell, and now with Joe Wickline. But this is a defensive tackle. There aren't many like him.
No, there's not. And so, they've lost Byron Murphy. They've lost Hal Presley. They've lost Randy Bobo Masters. And they still have a couple of defensive line commits that are in this class, but neither one of them are anywhere near the level of a Byron Murphy. So they're going to have to figure out how they want to go about addressing that position. I mean, you've got Cooper Lands out of Denton Geyer, and you've got Dakota Doyle out of St. Louis. Sam Carroll as well out of New Mexico. So, that was going to be kind of the crown jewel of what was going to be a 4 to 5 man defensive line class. I mean, the good news is it wasn't like they were relying on getting 1 or 2 and then, all of a sudden they're left with 0 or 1 because of the Murphy decommit. But still, that was the best player. And, the thing is with Baylor is, Texas can, like I said, they could go 0 for 12 a couple years in a row. And all they got to do is just show up with the burnt orange polo on and the logo everybody knows and just say, hey, we're Texas. And Oklahoma can do that as well, and Ohio State and those types of schools. And that's never, ever, ever going to change for those schools. Like they're in for forever as far as the Blue Blood Club. But if you're Baylor, you can't just roll a logo out. You can't just say, hey, you got to really go to a different level with it, and part of going to that different level is you need to be winning football games to pull some, the eyes towards your brand. That's the difference. You got to work a little bit harder, and you got to have a little bit more impressive results, and right now they don't, and so that's working against them.
So they got to find a way to react to that. National Signing Day is in December. It's going to be very unique this year without any face-to-face or on-campus type visits. It's been very few, if any at all. And then in February, perhaps regroup. And Joe Wickline on the offensive line, of course, they need some help and hope they get some. And then on the defensive line with what they're going to do as well. It'll be interesting to see. But that's that. Blake Blackmar will join us at 3:25, former Baylor offensive lineman. You know, he was a part of that 2017 team when the offensive line was a mess, 6 scholarship players. I have some things I charted from that 2017 teams about lineup changes and who played where and flipping positions. We're going to ask him his thoughts about what he sees and also what he would suggest today. Also, today we'll have John Machota at 5 on the Cowboys, 5:30 football Bob on Baylor and what happened in Lubbock. Art Briles, head football coach at Mount Vernon, on their game coming up against West after their huge win against Gladewater this past weekend. And then also today, we'll hear from Don Hyde, the head football coach at La Vega. They play Wilmer Hutchins among some others we have as well. Now, Tristan Clark. And by the way, 254-339-1122 on what we've discussed in this opening segment. And when we can find out more insight, that's why I call Claude Mathis, to get inside, not just, whatever speculated. What did he tell me? And so he's been a coach before at SMU and had to deal with young men trying to commit to the program when he was there, back in the high school game, the Marshall, and back to DeSoto where he was before. So Tristan Clark announces his retirement. He was available today to the media. This is a sad story. He's a really good presence. His freshman year may have been one of the best inside guys in the country. Then he had the injury back in January of 2019. Here's Tristan Clark on what is happening right before his eyes.
You mentioned where you were mentally in your rehab and kind of taking over and focusing on that as your kind of goal. Where are you right now, and what did the decision do for you? Like, did it take a weight off your back mentally and allow you to do that? And how do you see that going forward?
Definitely took a big weight off my shoulders. It's a big decision, and we're an elite team, so it's gonna have a lot of impact in our community, in the Baylor community, but also the college basketball community. And but going through all of this and everything I've been through, I just feel like I'm gonna use my pain and my frustration that I had, my injury and all the stuff I went through. I'm just gonna use it as motivation, so I can help people and I can impact the world the best way I can. And even though it was a lot going, a lot of stuff I had to go through. I just feel like I can use all this, and I have a story to tell to other athletes, and I can relate with them, and just help athletes, and just make an impact off the court as much as I did on the court.
Is the sports psychology thing, is that something you've been thinking about for a while, or is that new based on your experience the last year and a half or so?
I thought about it during quarantine, just because I was still rehabbing my knee. But, I'm a guy where I think about all my options, because I knew potentially, I don't know if I'm able to play on this, but, I'm still driven to keep going. But during the quarantine, I just looked up careers that I feel like I could do outside of basketball. And, I saw all the potential careers I could do in my career path for my studies. And I saw sports psychology, and I looked up more into it. And I just thought it's a perfect match for me, especially with what I went through and what type of guy I am. I feel like I could make a big impact in there.
One of the things that Paul and I learned, and we all learned, Craig, we could tell this is hard. This is really hard. This is a young man that could have been an elite player, and then all of a sudden his career is shut down. It reminds me a lot of times of some big men that have had foot injuries. I've mentioned that before, and you give it a go. In his case, it was his knee, but you give it a go, and it's just harder. And that doesn't mean that 5'11" point guards don't have this problem, or 6'4", power or forwards or whatever, 6'8" forwards. But it's sad because he was really, really good. This is still a very good team. They'll rely on Thamba, JTT, among others. But he is, and listen again, we'll play that again later in the show, the emotions of what he is going through. He is struggling. Right now, he is struggling. And more on that as we continue on with the show.
Yeah, it was rough to see that, this is something he had to wrestle with. This wasn't something he came to lightly, and this was something he really worked hard to get through his knee. But he mentioned it probably 4 or 5 times during the mental strain of trying to come back from the injury. And
it overcame the physical pain, or the physical part of what he had to overcome to play the game.
Yeah, that he wanted to focus on his mental health right now, and he was very open about wanting to focus on that.
Here's Scott Drew on Tristan's decision and how it affects his basketball team.
Well, probably the hardest thing was just seeing the finality of it when he shared it with us, the staff, and when he shared it with the players. Just because I know how. I mean, he's a teammate that really cares about his other team members, and he always wanted to be there to help them. And when he had to tell him that he wasn't going to be able to do this anymore. I know that was emotional for him from the standpoint. Again, he's such a caring guy, loving guy, and always wants to help his teammates as much as possible. Knowing Tristan as much as I do and as well as I do, he's such a great teammate. I knew his first concern was that the players wouldn't feel like he was letting them down. He was still going to be there to support them. And again, he has such affection for his brothers and wants to help them. And I thought he did a great job in just passing on his heart and just how much he had tried to get back. But at the same time, all the players feel for him and want him to be successful and happy. And I know they're going to help him in any way as possible with this transition as well.
By the way, one quick note in college football, then back to Flo Thamba. Texas and Kansas, the game coming up this weekend has been postponed after COVID-19 testing. Not sure exactly which. It was Kansas announces inability to meet the minimum position requirements established by the Big 12 Conference, combination of injuries and contact tracing. So that's TCU and SMU, Baylor, Houston, and then Oklahoma State, now Kansas, and their game this weekend. Texas coming off the bye, and now Kansas and KU and Texas, that game this weekend has been postponed. Now,
that's a shame. That's one of the great rivalries in Big 12 football.
It really is. I mean, that's there's a conspiracy here that Texas doesn't want to play that game because this is a team that has their number.
Well, they beat him a couple years ago. They beat him a couple years ago, but then last year they gave him all they wanted.
So Flo Thamba and JTT are the ones that have to jump up, right? That was kind of known anyway. And then Tristan Clark decides he cannot play anymore. He's just out. And God bless him in his future and what he moves forward to do and help people who have been through some depression and mental illness. Here's Flo Thamba on playing time, his time, and stepping up.
Flo, because Tristan missed so much of last year, your role increased then. How much did that experience help you in preparing for this year and an expanded role?
It helped a lot. I mean, just basically sitting on the sideline and just watching play-by-play, seeing what the other team does and all the things the other teams throw at us, basically just make sure adapt and just basically prepare ourselves to always be in that situation. And just basically from the standpoint of just being on the sideline and watching, you basically learn a lot.
Flo, back when Tristan got hurt early in 2019, you had to step up along with obviously Freddie, others. Did you learn from that experience now, even though you weren't sure what Tristan was going to do this year? Do you learn from that and also learn from the hard work from Freddie as well and what he became?
Yeah, I mean, everything is always a learning curve. So me having to step up during that time period was an opportunity, and also just a way of just like showcasing my hard work that I put in, and considering it was in the past, and also just learning from Freddie. You just always have to expect the unexpected. So anytime anybody can get hurt, or just always be ready for whatever position is needed.
So that's Flo Thamba. He had, when Tristan Clark went out 2 years ago, his minutes jumped to about 10 minutes a game. Now, he wasn't as involved. He played last year, but it was JTT was not a part of it. He was redshirting after the transfer from UNLV. It was Freddie Gillespie.
I may be totally wrong on this, and I don't want to sound insensitive because that's not what I'm going for here, but I don't think Tristan Clark's announcement really changes anything, honestly. I mean, I know it changes things to an extent, but, I don't think most were relying on him to play, a large number of minutes. I think, with Tristan Clark the last 2 years, it's been a hope thing, right? It's been, we hope he can eventually get back to the point where he's playing 20 minutes a game. We hope he can get to the point where his knees feel uncomfortable. And so there's been a lot of hope. There hasn't been a lot of actual substance. And so, this is obviously a big deal for Tristan. I'm not taking away from that at all. But in terms of the team, like Flo Thamba and guys having to step up, I don't think that's going to be an issue because I think that was kind of going to be the deal anyways. And, now it's just a bit more streamlined what you have going into the season.
Yep, I agree. I agree again. And it's also like, unfortunately for Tristan, it was a week to, we had to ask. And it got to a point where I stopped asking about is he available or not, and wish him the best of luck. He's got a message and an experience to share with a lot of people that obviously have had some things that have gone against them, and hopefully he wants to get that degree in sports psychology, move on, help others, and good luck with him to do that. Now, there's been a couple of other Baylor players, and Blake Blackmar in the next segment, that have had retirement. Isaiah Austin retired. Remember?
Yeah. Seth Russell.
Isaiah Austin retired and now is making pretty good cash in Europe, and was a part of that, whatever that league was. I don't forgot what it's called now. We played a lot. So, now again, I'm not saying that means that Tristan can come back and play. Just right now, mentally, he's exhausted. It's not basketball. He needs to fix himself and move on and have something else to do. We got to take a break here in a second, take a call, and then also Blake Blackmar in the next segment.
T-Rex, thanks for your call. You're on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. Couple things real quick. I know y'all got an agenda to say too, and I'm getting some work done myself here, so not as important as what y'all are doing, though. Never will be. Anyways, Craig, I agree with you in regards to Tristan Clark. By no means do I think anybody should take your comments as a negative slide towards him. That's just, unfortunately, that's how it was. I mean, I remember watching that game when he got hurt. I believe we beat Iowa State, which I was in a little sports bar here at the time in Kansas City, and a bunch of KU fans around me became Baylor fans that night because I was keeping them in first place. And, next day we found out he gets hurt, and ever since then it just unfortunately was one of those things where you hope he can come back. And even last year, had he, it really doesn't matter last year because COVID happened. It shut everything down no matter what. But, it's just one of those big what ifs. Had he, been able to play a full game, maybe we win the Big 12 championship in the regular season last year. And then this coming season, who knows? We're already got a stacked team. We're number one, number two, depending on the poll. But I feel like those people all realize, that we're voting on that. They knew where Tristan was at the time, and you can only go off of what you've seen and what you have on the team. So I agree with you. I don't think it's, a huge knock because luckily we had the depth, and those guys got the minutes, and then we got more guys this year. So I wish all the luck to the man, and I'm glad that he wants to get his degree. He's going to, seek out and do the best things he can with his experiences. I feel like there's a lot of players out there that can learn a lot from a guy like Tristan. So best of luck to him for sure. And you'll always be a Baylor Bear. Once a Bear, always a Bear. Just an unfortunate, situation, and happens. Next thing, I first want to send a message to all the Houston fans out there. I heard their game is also postponed. So if you want to keep that same energy you had back in September when we had our COVID issues, I would greatly appreciate that. Last thing I got to say, in regards to, we got this big-time recruit that he's now going to Texas, and to any other recruits that flip-flop, what? See you down the road, man. If you ain't with us, you're against us, and that's all that matters. What matters, it doesn't matter who you play with unless you, you show up on Saturday wearing green and gold. So if you ain't with us, you're against us, you're the enemy, and good luck to you when our offensive line lines up against you next year in Waco, not Austin, and puts them into the ground every play. So that's all I got to say to that. If you don't want to be one of us, then good luck to you. That's all I got.
T-Rex, thank you very much for your feedback on Tristan Clark, and also a player who decommitted today. Part of the deal. People get mad sometimes about decommitments and then accept others who committed somewhere else and then want to play for them. It's childish. But T-Rex, thanks for your call, and I agree. If you don't want to play here, wherever you are, could be Tarleton State. Go play where you want to play. Go, and Byron Murphy's a good kid. We've had him on the show. Great guy. Good luck in what he does as well. Now it's up to the staff to go find a way to replace him among others that were committed to the class of 2021. When we come back, Blake Blackmar, his thoughts on 2020 Baylor football, the offensive line, and more, and some of his experience that maybe he could share with the group right now. And this is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've got the holiday savings event going on right now, and that means they've got a load of great deals for you to take advantage of and also find a way in doing so to give back to the community. Right now, it's the most wonderful time of year to save big on all remaining 2020 vehicles in stock, plus incoming 2021 GMC Sierras, and Sierras are the truck with it all. Power, first-class seating, Unbeatable technology, Sierra is the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's holiday savings event, qualified buyers can unwrap $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra Tex Edition Crew Cab at Richard Carr. Maybe you're looking for a top-of-the-line midsize SUV. Well, Richard Carr is offering $7,000 off GMC Terrains or $7,500 off of Buick Envisions. You can test drive both and save big today at Richard Carr. And the ultimate gift this Christmas is a Cadillac. You can save $3,000 and get 0% financing for 72 months on most Cadillacs in stock, including the XT4, XT5, and XT6. Let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with test drives at your home or at your office. And at Richard Carr, they love their healthcare workers, military, and first responders. Right now, all these valuable community heroes get GM supplier pricing on all cars in stock, and for every car or truck sold now, Richard Carr will donate a new bike to Toys for Tots Waco. So get yourself a great deal and give a deserving kid a bike this Christmas. It's the holiday sales event at Richard Carr. Get there now. Go to richardcarr.com or have them bring the test drive to you.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Dodge Performance from Allen Samuels. Dodge, ranked highest in initial quality according to J.D. Power. Get remarkable Dodge incentives like up to $5,170 in values on new 2020 Charger SXTs, America's most affordable third-row SUV. Dodge Journey has employee pricing for all, and both Charger and Journey have no payments for 90 days. The Black Friday sales event, now at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, located at the Imperial Drive exit off Loop 340 in Waco. Proud supporters of all Baylor Athletics.
All right, here we go. 3:30, SicEm365 Radio. La Vega's Don Hyde will join us in the next segment a little bit later in the hour on their game with Wilmer Hutchins, a team that's only played 6 games. But a lot of that's happened, especially in certain areas in El Paso, in the Valley, around Dallas as well, and even sometimes in Austin. I was watching how this season has unfolded. Yeah, Patrick Lawrence has joined us. Jordan Williams has joined us. And now joined by Blake Blackmar, former Baylor offensive lineman, and one hell of a cook. He joins us on SicEm365 Radio. We're going to get into that because Brian Etheridge is throwing down some flames towards you, and you know that, and I don't think he's very smart to do that. But how you been? We talked to you back on July 2nd. Everything okay?
Heck yeah. Oh, everything's going great right now, man. I'm just getting ready for this throwdown in March we've been talking about.
I know it's going to be epic. So you were a part of the Big 12 championship team in 14 as a redshirt freshman. You were a part of the 1-11 when there were 6 scholarship offensive linemen, and then on the bowl team that made the next step under Coach Rule. When you watch what you see now with Baylor and how the offensive line has had to kind of have guys there or not, as an offensive lineman, how much of missed practice, spring drills, whatever else, do you think has affected them?
I mean, I think it's huge. Pretty much any other position, you can get away with not having full speed, full padded practices and missing time just because, you know, if you're that much better athlete than the other guy, then you can go out and play and perform. But on the offensive line, when you're all working, it takes all 5 guys working together. You can have 4 guys doing great and 1 guy messes up and the play gets half a yard, you know. So all that time is huge. And so they're just getting absolutely beaten down by the lack of, you know, of preparation and spring ball and not having full guys at practice, because that's how you build a strong, successful offensive line. A lot of these guys are great players individually, but they just haven't been able to come together and operate as a cohesive unit because they haven't been able to practice as a cohesive unit. They haven't gotten the opportunity to. So it's, you know, playing offensive line at a high level is all about building culture, and you know, you can have practices where the receivers are, you know, not getting hit, the running backs aren't getting taken to the ground. But pretty much every practice you put a helmet on, even if it's just helmets, the offensive line and defensive line are going to be hitting each other, and you're going to get punched in the chest. You're going to get beat up, and that's what it takes to, you know, develop those habits to become a good offensive line unit. And they just haven't had the opportunity. So it's, you know, it's really tough, you know, because these guys are, you know, I know a lot of them personally, and they're all great guys, good players, and there's just a tough situation that everyone has to deal with.
When you had to go through that year of 6 scholarship offensive linemen and you barely got a break during practice and things like that, were those reps valuable in the long run too, that you had to run the scout team in building that cohesiveness?
Yeah, I mean, that all really started in that spring ball, and it really went back to the spring ball before with the Grove year spring ball. So that spring ball we had barely, you know, we had Kyle Fuller, but Kyle Fuller, great player, great guy. He was going to take his 1 reps, but they weren't gonna tax Kyle and make him do a bunch of stuff, and he was playing through. He was playing through some dings and stuff from the season. And so that spring ball, we had like, I think 7 or 8 scholarship guys. And it was just I remember we had a 3-man rotation at guard and center, or a 4-man rotation. And like, so one of us got 2 plays off every like 12 or 15 plays or something. So it was just, you know, especially that was when we were all Briles. So it was all fast speed, tempo. We don't want to change anything. So that was rough. Then the next year, the next spring ball with Rule, is the weed out year. So we already don't have numbers because there was no real recruiting class. And then and then the guys they did get aren't coming until, summer. So we had no one running. That's when you got Sam Tecklenburg, hero of the rural air offensive line, moving from catching touchdowns to playing center, or he was playing tackle then, just because we only had 4 guys at one point to play tackle on the second team offensive line. And so he would take first team reps at tight end and then take second team reps at tackle. And he screwed up and did well enough that they were like, you know what? You're an offensive lineman now. Don't worry about trying to lose weight.
Wow.
But, so, I mean, all those terrible practices, I mean, I look back on them and laugh. They were bad, because it's tough. You'll do good things, but by the end of it, you've gotten 1,000 reps. You're so damn tired that they're looking sloppy. You're just watching yourself on film like, oh my God, like, how is this even like usable film? Because I'm just so damn tired. But that's the kind of mentality going through that with guys that helps build culture and ties that you're able to push through once you bring more guys in, once you kind of develop that core. That's where good O-line culture comes from. And, things don't suck as much during fall camp. You have to have a really hard, brutal spring ball to have a really good fall camp. And that's what I think, at least, because, spring ball is when you can do that. Fall camp is when you want to start. You got to hit, you got to play hard, but you also want to be smart because you don't want guys getting hurt going into the season.
Blake, with all the changes that you made mention of, the things they haven't been able to do, throwing in a new offensive line coach and a new head coach on top of that, I know that's something you had to deal with. How much of an adjustment does that take? And particularly at the position with your O-line coach, because you didn't have all those things, I imagine that just even compounds the getting to know process and all of that even further.
Oh yeah. No spring ball for a new scheme, new O-line coach it's brutal. I personally hated spring ball, but it's probably the best tool that you're given as a college football, player, because it's especially young players. That's the time that you've learned the offense, you get reps. You're not just playing scout team, and so that's pretty freaking. With no spring ball and just learning it, trying to learn everything on Zoom calls and stuff during the summer, like that's pretty. I wouldn't want to do it. I mean, and I know Coach Wickline. He's a great coach. His style is much more similar to Randy Clements, the first O-line coach I had at Baylor. So I think they've definitely got the staff, the potential, everything's there to really develop a great culture, great team, great history. And it's not like they're working with bare bones or anything. There's some really good building blocks there. But I mean, to me, I'm not concerned about this year because it's a freebie year. You've got, it's not an impactful year as far as guys' eligibility. You've got new coach. You've got all this COVID stuff. Yeah, it sucks. I wish we were kicking the crap out of everyone, scoring 60 points a game. And I wish it was, and you could just tell it's just sloppy football because there hasn't been enough, time in the system, practice time. There just hasn't been enough of any of that stuff to sit here and demand, a good 10-win season and everything. So I'm not worried about this year in general. I just think it's kind of a freebie year. It's a great opportunity for guys to get better, play new positions, and really kind of, just get another year to fight through this stuff.
It's interesting because it is actually a mulligan year for everybody if they want to come back or keep a year on when they play. I went back and looked at the first 5 games against when you were at 2017, the team that ended up struggling, went on 11. And nobody ended up the season on the offensive line in the same spot of where they started. Now, it was there's a lot of consistency from you or Tech or Porter or Lawrence, and we had Patrick in studio a couple of days ago. But the starting offensive line was Malin at left tackle, Tecklenburg guard, Ryan Miller, who was a freshman that Patrick Lawrence said
had no business
had
being
no
out of
business
the field.
being there, but
Yeah.
God bless him, he had to do something, right? They needed somebody.
Yeah.
Blackmar, you at guard, and then Patrick Lawrence at right tackle. Tecklenburg was a tight end. When you finished your last game against TCU, Mo Porter, who took over the second week, was the left tackle. Patrick Lawrence went to left guard. Tecklenburg became the center. You stayed at right guard from start to finish, and Malin ended up the right tackle.
Yeah, and in between there, you had all kinds of different changes at tackle and left guard and all that stuff. I mean, it was kind of it was the same core group of guys, but it was kind of a fiasco there for a little bit. It was a cluster, but I mean, it was.
Thanks for stopping at cluster.
I mean, yeah, there you go. But I mean, I remember that last game against TCU. You know, we're warming up, and X Newman came in, and he's just like, "Man, I don't think I'm going to be able to play." And we, you know, Pat and I were like, "Dude, what? Like, what are you talking about?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't think I can play." And we were like, "Are you kidding me?" And then, I mean, like, so we were kind of giving him a hard time, and he pulls his pants down, and he had this like blood blister on the inside of his thigh that was like, I mean, it was probably the size of a freaking pear. And I was just like, ooh, yeah. You gotta take. I was like, you gotta get that thing. You gotta do something with that, man. That's on you. And then, about 3 minutes later, coach comes over. He's like, "Hey, Pat, you're playing guard."
Wow.
Like what? What? That hasn't taken a guard rep since he got to Baylor. So that was an interesting one. I still have I still have nightmares about this. They run this freaking horn stunt, and it's the longest, slowest stunt in all of college football. There's no reason it should work, and they think they got like 3 or 4 sacks off it just because we had to shuffle our tackles. It's like you have to bump. The whole offensive line has to bump a guy over in the middle of the play. Not that hard to do because the stunt's so slow, but they got like 4 sacks off it that game because, you know, we didn't have the consistency of practice with Malin and Mo and Pat at guard. It was gross.
Yeah,
was it the bump or was it the big welt that he had on his leg that was gross?
Yeah, exactly.
Blake, Pat mentioned yesterday about, you know, if you had to switch from the right to the left, you know, because it's tough. And then earlier this year, you know, Xavier Newman was switching between guard and center in the same game. And the way that the muscle memory kind of works, it's almost impossible to do that, isn't it? Just you have to be a really good player to just switch back and forth without at least a couple of mistakes.
Playing center is definitely the kind of the catalyst that will allow you to do that. I mean, because as a center, you're pretty much always play side. So, you know, like the front side and back side of teams pretty much always stop at the center. So you're almost always play side. So it's pretty easy to go, you know, to flip from each guard because you know what you're doing. Now, as far as getting in the stance and everything, yeah, it depends. You know, Pat's saying that because he played 990% of his games at right tackle, you know, but I played left guard, right guard all the way up through, you know, 2016, 17. So I flipped back and forth, and it's all just practice, you know. By the end of my career, if I had gone and played left guard, it probably would have been a little ugly, but as long as you're getting some reps in practice, as long as you get enough reps kind of ahead of the time, and then you get a couple every day at practice, you won't lose it too bad. But if you're cold turkey doing it, yeah, I wouldn't. And it's much worse at tackle. I mean, going from right to left tackle, the more athletic you're asked to be, the harder it is to switch from left and right, you know.
Blake, I think we've asked you before, you know, when you thought like the turning point was for the rule era, but, you know, ultimately kind of a different question is when did you first see guys really starting to buy in? When did you start to feel not like the switch had flipped, but when did the momentum really start as far as thinking like, hey, the rule way is going to work and we just got to get everybody on board with this thing?
I'd honestly say some of it was, I'd say it kind of, the start of it was that OU game. when you got T.Y. planting Baker Mayfield on the ground, and there were some good moments in that game. And then I don't quite remember the season. You know what? This is kind of a tangent, but I hate all those high school coaches that we've all heard, and they're all like, "I remember every play of every game I ever played in."
Yeah.
I'm like, shoot, I can't even. I mean, granted, who wouldn't want to forget some of that 1-11 season? But I can't even remember the damn schedule. But I remember there were bright spots in the OU game, and then the Kansas game was just kind of a sigh of relief because we knew we weren't going to be defeated. You know, we weren't going to be 0-12. And then the West Virginia game is when we had a couple of good series. It was a closer game, and that's just when guys just, you know, you sit there after the game and you watch it and you're like, look, here's 6 plays. If we execute on these plays, and these 6 plays aren't just they beat us. These 6 plays are, hey, look, this guy's not doing what he's supposed to. This guy's loafing. This guy's doing this. And if you get those 6 plays back, you win the game, you know. So it's like seeing how simple it is the next day and just seeing that it's not some astronomical thing that you have to accomplish. You just have to fix these 6 plays, you know, every game. I think that's when it started turning around. So I'd probably say that West Virginia game.
I know we got to go, but I want to reiterate what you said, and Craig put this up. They have the staff, the potential, everything is there to build a great culture, team history. There's something good building. There's some really good building blocks there. I'm not worried about this year in general. So you believe in what they're doing and everything's going to be okay, and this is just, as you said, cluster?
Oh, yeah. It's just a bad situation, but honestly, I mean, if you were going to have a mulligan year, your first year as a head coach and a new staff, I feel good about it. You know, I think that there's going to be a lot of growth over the next couple of years. We're going to have spring ball. We're going to have football. We're going to have full-fledged tailgates. It's going to be great. People are just so used to complaining and finding something to be angry about right now that it's just so easy to get down.
Thanks for your time, and we'll see you in March, and we'll have you on again to discuss the rules, the policies of how this is all going to go down. It's going to be epic. We can't wait to see you again, buddy.
Heck yeah, man. I'm ready.
Thank you, Blake. Appreciate you coming on with us. Right. Part of that Big 12 championship. Yeah, he talked about 2017 and the bowl team as well. That's Blake Blackmar trying to give you this week some perspective on those who went through what happened in 17 and trying to give us perspective on what's happening right now.
You know, if they're having those same film sessions, you can look at every single loss this year. You take away 6 plays and go, they win that football game.
Yeah.
I mean, every single game, even the TCU 30-0, because
the punt return.
You look at that game, you take away the punt return. If we don't screw up our coverage on that wipes out like the rest of the, first half almost, because that was where everything just sort of flipped. But yeah, I mean,
it wasn't a mistake, but when Kalen could have gone pick 6.
Maybe picks the ball off against Iowa State instead, they win that game. So, I mean, you don't even need 6 in most of these games. You can just go with 5 plays, or Charlie was the interception at the end of Iowa State. I mean, there's legitimately a handful of plays that if they go the other way, that's how, it's like Al Pacino in Any Given Sunday, football's just a game of inches and that whole thing. It's true though. There's just these little bitty changes and you're a completely different team with a completely different record. And I hope they realize that. I hope that's being hammered home, and I hope they have the same level of accountability they did under Rule, because they would go out the next week and change those things, and, it resulted in wins ultimately.
All right, thanks to a lot of you that have given us some text, and also on the Willis Law Firm chat room, from example, Bear in Michigan. Our schedule will be outlandishly tough, the perfect environment to find greatness in any of Tristan's backups. From Jane, such a thing to make a run, like a miracle. Ed, love the interviews with former Baylor Bears, and you and Trevor were awesome today. It's so good to hear what really impacted people. Go Baylor. Oh, that was from late last night. I'm sorry. And then Jake DeSnake would love. Okay, that's about the Briles interview and asking me a question about art. That interview is about Jalen Petries. He wanted to bring it up, and I didn't bring that up because I brought up many other things, including Mount Vernon High School and their football team and game against West and the win against Gladewater. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty. if you were looking to buy or sell a home, call Lance, 254-214-3713. Look him up online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com, or just Google Lance Donaldson, EXP Realty. It'll pop right up for you. You can look at his listings. You can find out about Lance, but I'll just give you the thumbnail sketch on Lance. He's a great guy who's going to help you find a home, and he's got a knack for hearing the little things that you maybe even not know that you want in your dream home. He's got, bedrooms, baths, square footage, acreage. He's going to, that's all pretty basic stuff, but it's the little things that he's going to notice about your family that'll be cool. And those kind of details about a home that he'll find for you. Plus, if you're selling a home, he's going to get you a great price in your home. He's going to make you a great deal, top to bottom. That's what Lance does. And he's going to be fun to hang out with and look at houses with. So give him a call, 254-214-3713. Lance Donaldson with eXp Realty.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Hi, This is La Vega head football coach Don Hyde, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke. This is your home for the best high school football coverage in Texas.
This segment with La Vega Pirates football coach Don Hyde is sponsored by American Bank, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine.
Now, Wilmer Hutchins, this is interesting because a lot of these Dallas schools haven't played a lot of games, and they're 5-1. What do you know of them? And as far as have you seen enough on them to know who they are?
They're extremely talented. A lot of skilled guys out on the field, big up front on offense and defense. Coach Burnett does a good job of getting them in the right spot, and they do a good job of scheming you, so we'll let play well.
Your thoughts about the fact you're now moving to the second round, your thoughts about who you were. You took care of business last week as you should have. You like the way your kids just kind of handled their business again?
Yeah, I mean, we're taking it one game at a time like we always do, and, really not worried about who we're playing, but more worried about what we're doing from an offensive, defensive, and special team standpoint. And, you can't control what other teams do. You can only control what you do, and so that's the way we take each game, and we try to get better every day.
I say that, and then you say that, and I understand that's exactly what you do, but is there any concern whatsoever of what could be around the corner?
Oh, no. The bottom line is the team you play on a Friday night, you got to beat. And it don't matter if that team is Wilmer Hutchins or China Spring or Gatesville or whoever. I mean, I can assume you're insinuating Argyle's around the corner. And,
yeah.
If we get to that point, we're going to take it the same way we've always taken it.
Don, Aaron Rawls was able to get back in time to play a little bit. Now that he's been in a little bit of a rhythm, and is he just right now just playing at a high level?
Yeah, he's playing at an extremely high level. Not only that, but, he's been limited in his role simply because every game he's been back, we pretty much won the blowout, and he's played the first half and not the second half. And so, his first week back, we beat Alvarado 51-0, and pretty much our sub-varsity guys we brought up played the second half. We beat Brownwood 62-6, and pretty much our guys we brought up played the second half. And the other night we would head, 50-something or high 40s to nothing at halftime, and our guys we brought up played the second half. And so, it's great for your program, and it's good for your young kids to get to play. And I think, Tripp's looking forward to a game where he can play all four quarters.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new, pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, Bod Pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change. Your change.
MP Electric has developed a quality-oriented electrical contracting service in more than 20 years in the industry. Led by President Mark Perry, our electricians go through a 5-year apprenticeship program, are licensed by the state of Texas, and getting continuous education annually upon renewal. In great part, the success of MP Electric lies with its management and professional expertise of its employees. All of our employees share a dedication to quality and commitment to serving the needs of our customers. For new construction and remodels, parking lot, lighting and surge protection, landscape lights, security lights, troubleshooting and repairs. For industrial manufacturing, food and beverage, paper and publishing, heavy industry, cement and rock crushing plants, water distribution plants, and utilities. For 20 years, MP Electric has serviced industrial, commercial, and residential products. We do service right. MP Electric Inc. at 1890 Galaxy Road, Waco. MPElectricUSA.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
She jumped in a defensive drill with us last week, a defensive slide drill, and of course the girls were excited to have her back.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, 4 o'clock hour. In an hour from now, John Machota, theathletic.com, and the Cowboys back to work against Minnesota and facing that running game that leads the NFL. Also, a couple of roster moves the Cowboys made. The Kansas and Texas game has been postponed. The game between Houston and SMU has been postponed. And there's a handful, Colorado in their game, I forgot who they were playing, postponed. And I saw a tweet from Joe Klatt. They need to call Fort Collins right now, Colorado State, because the Pac-12 kind of loosened up non-conference games if you have a conference game postponed, and try to make that happen, because that's always been a heck of a game. We've heard from Tristan Clark on his retirement. Scott Drew Flothamba told you about Byron Murphy decommitting from Baylor and hours later committing to the University of Texas. Great story, Craig. Conley, quarterback and linebacker, Kavion Gaither today makes an announcement.
Yeah, earlier today, around 11 o'clock, Kavion, who we got to cover and talk about quite a bit, covering Connolly this season. He was definitely the heart of that team. He committed to Sam Houston State today. So Kavion Gaither, arguably the best player in the area in high school football the last couple of years, has made his decision, and he had picked up a few offers over the last few weeks. Sam Houston State was one of those. I think it was like a month or so ago that he got that one. And then he had some others kind of along those same lines. But I think that's a good spot for him. I think that's a program where he will probably do very, very well. And I don't know where he'll end up on offense or defense or whatever, but he's going to have the work ethic. That's a program where, that's a lot of dudes. A lot of former D1 guys end up there, and a lot of talented players. So he'll fit right in, and their culture is better as a result of adding Kavion Gaither to their roster, and their football team is as well. So congratulations to him on that big decision.
Yeah, and Chuck Cooper's team. If California and UCLA can pull off a game in 24 hours, how about Texas and A&M? We know that's not going to happen, but that's just kind of fun. Now, here's what we have.
Are we going to be doing this in like 15 years, talking about A&M and Texas?
Yeah, we are. 254-339-1122. The problem with A&M is they're one of the issues that they have themselves. 254-339-1122, and I mean not with Texas. Well, they both do, but because of COVID. 254-339-1122. That's the text line. You can call. We had the call earlier today from T-Rex. We'd love to hear your feedback right now on many things, from the Byron Murphy decommitment. Some of you have made comments on Twitter timeline. Also in the Willis Law Firm chat room, your thoughts about Blake Blackmar. If you've listened to Blackmar, Lawrence, Jordan Williams, and Phil Bennett, if you're about to jump off the bridge or the cliff, now, it may be good for you to at least listen. Doesn't mean it'll change your mind, that you're not frustrated or whatever, angry, but it wouldn't hurt. to maybe listen to their perspective and those who have been through it before and where they, as players, see where Baylor football might be right now, which is not always good.
I'm with Blackmar. I'm with Blackmar, though. Like, this is a free year. You know, I'm very interested to see at the end of the season what happens with the roster. I mean, that's what I'm kind of the next big thing I'm looking towards is what happens, who decides to come back, who decides to leave, who do they decide they maybe want to leave. You know what I mean? Because there's going to be some of those conversations as well, and that's tough, but that's just part of the deal is you're going to have some business decisions to make. So certain players I'm sure will have the free pass to come back, and then others maybe not so much. And then there, will just be players who, regardless of their options, just maybe want to go do something different, whether that's non-football or whether that's football somewhere else. So I think this roster will look a little bit different, just natural attrition, and that'll be something to sort through. But I think the program's fine. It's been a struggle, obviously, but I do think when you hear from the players themselves on the importance of spring ball, and especially on the offensive line, and getting to know new coaches and all of that. I know people are tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it, but it's true, though. Like, that's the thing, is that's why we keep going back to it, is because this is not just some bad football team. This is a team with a lot of reasons of why they're not playing the way that we all expected them to be playing at this point.
Well, you heard Blake kind of really jump into it about spring ball and the value. Like, I think when you go back and listen to that, listen to how much he does mention the value of spring ball and how that helped them and how it shaped the offensive line for a long, long time.
Now, a couple of other things that happened today. We mentioned KU and all the games, KU, Texas, and now Houston against SMU. There was a Cowboys note. Here we go. Oh, no. Yeah, the Cowboys, Andy Dalton will be activated, obviously. Tyrone Crawford will be coming off the COVID list. And Brandon Knight will begin a 21-day practice window today.
Yeah, he's been on IR.
Offensive tackle.
I'm hoping that he comes in when he's back and replaces Terrence Steele, who I think Knight's played better than Steele. But we'll see. I mean,
Steele was shoved in as a rookie at a Tech, right?
Yeah, and Brandon Knight's not a huge upgrade. He's an undrafted free agent from last season, but I think he played better when he was stepping in for Tyrone Crawford on the left side. Cam Irving's over there now. But I think Irving, Connor Williams, well, I guess it's Joe Looney, Biotish, Zach Martin, and Brandon Knight's the best five they have, but I guess we'll see.
So, your thoughts about the Byron Murphy decommitment? I'm going to read some of your tweets and text in a minute. Also, your thoughts on, you hear Tristan Clark and his thoughts about retirement. Very tough time for him, as you can imagine. How about this for a zinger? He always was someone that people wanted to always, Jeff Heath, right? About the only time I ever remember the Cowboys with an interception was him. He always seemed to make a play. I know not enough, and I know it was easy to pick on him. The Cowboys' safety play has always been pretty erratic the last few years. He's named the AFC Defensive Player of the Week with 2 picks in their win this past weekend.
He was the only guy for years that was really creating turnovers for the Cowboys, and everybody was mad about Jeff Heath. Well, you know what? I bet you'd crawl across broken glass for Jeff Heath right now.
Yeah, for sure. And, I had my fun at his expense. He was an easy guy to have fun at his expense. You know what I mean? Like when he would have a play here and there that maybe it didn't look so good. It was easy to kind of point and be like, oh, there's a weakness on this team is Jeff Heath. But no, I mean, in reality, he was probably lambasted a bit too much and far more solid of a player than anybody they've got on their roster right now. So, in hindsight, you wouldn't have thought maybe 3-4 years ago that losing Jeff Heath to free agency would be that big of a deal. But in a very short amount of time, you've realized that it was. And, he would definitely be a starter and be one of the better players on this Cowboys defense the way it's composed at the moment. So good for him. That's a Raiders team that is pretty good, and they're going to run into the Chiefs this second time around. And I know that Mahomes has already come out and said that, they're not looking to go 0-2. I mean, I know that's obvious, but, it means something to Kansas City to not go 0-2 against the Raiders. So they lost that first one, and now they seem primed to go and take this second one, even if they got a couple guys missing due to COVID, which I don't know if that's changed since yesterday, but there was thoughts that they might be, missing both their tackles. But regardless, that should be a great game. And, certainly with the Cowboys, it's kind of speaks to the year itself.
Now, a couple of comments when I said I had some insight on Byron Murphy's decommitment from Baylor to Texas. From D. Denny, 12. I'm afraid he might just be the first in several that may decide to play elsewhere. Ramiro Rodriguez, he'll regret it later. So we appreciate the feedback from both of you on my Twitter timeline on Byron Murphy from DeSoto.
The problem is he wasn't the first. He's like the third or fourth now in the last couple of weeks. So he's just the continuation of a trend. He's not the start of one. But, when you have a highly rated player like that, and then you look at the couple of receivers who left, and, it's fair to wonder if, guys in that class don't look around and go, well, hey, Byron Murphy's gone now, and Hal Presley's gone now, and I forget the other one. But, it's a concern losing anybody out of your class, especially this late when signing day's, not that far away now at this point. So I'm sure they're, in the war room, so to speak, right now, trying to figure out who might be another option they can go after, or do we fill this spot with another D lineman, or do we hold this open for 2022? I'm sure they're having all those conversations right now. But, yeah, you just hope the bleeding stops and you can just kind of keep the rest of your class together.
From TJ on Baylor, we need to see the younger guys at this point in the season. It does two things. Seeing what you have for next season may just find out the gamer, because being a gamer is a real thing. It may give the program some hope and also a shot in the arm. You're playing for next year at this point anyway. I asked Dave Aranda about that. I believe in the postgame and even last week as well. Also from Carl Campbell, and he kind of hit me up. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that, they already are playing. All the young guys are out there because of injuries, and so we're not seeing everybody just yet, but we've seen quite a few. The running backs are all young guys now. With Ebner not being able to play last week and Lovett out for a second game in a row, it was just the two young guys, and McWilliams and Quaylon Jones. Your offensive line, you're using everybody you have at this point, right? Your tight end, your main tight end now, because Ben Sims has missed like 3 games in a row or 2 games in a row, is a freshman in Drake Dabney. Your receivers.
I like Dabney. I like the way he seems to be. But you're right. You're missing. That's a young player.
Yeah, so that's another young guy. That your receivers, your older players have been okay. R.J. Sneed's been good from time to time, but I'm trying to think in that receiving core. We've seen Jalen Ellis running wide open. We've seen, those guys have been out there to play. Yusuf Terry, obviously. And then defensively, the D-line was already kind of young. So that's just continuing on, really. Linebackers, obviously, they've had to go with some young guys there with the injuries. And the secondary, same thing. So, we're seeing a lot of the young players, but we'll probably see some more as these last 3 games unfold.
Carl Campbell, you guys kept saying this was a freebie year. It's really one. And do you think it affects this year's NFL draft? With big names actually return to college since this year is a wash?
No,
I don't think so. I think, you might someone get the hell out of here, And I'm talking about all of the schools around the country, unless you maybe, Terrell Bernard will be interesting because he lost a chunk of his year and would have been an NFL draft pick, no question. And also, UT will not have students returning to campus after Thanksgiving, minus international students who aren't living off campus. So that's from Carl in Austin. We appreciate you for that. And then from Stephen Vaughn. I wish I wasn't working during your calling period today. Greg Marshall getting his money has made me mad. When are schools going to start firing coaches for cause and daring them to sue for their money and having all the dirty laundry? NC State did it. Wichita State, they should be paying the kids $7.5 million.
All right, buyouts are going to start being a really interesting thing when you start thinking about it. You have to look at it through a different lens. I don't know, I'm going to use South Carolina as an example. I don't know how many sports or jobs that South Carolina individually has had to eliminate, if any, but there are, people around the country in college athletics losing their jobs that make $50,000 a year because the university can't afford to pay them anymore, but they can afford and they're going to have to pay $15 million to a coach. Or a coach gets fired at Wichita State, which I'm sure is not a school that probably can withstand a lot of COVID cancellations in their athletic department, and they're going to pay him $7.5 million over 6 years, so it's not all in one lump sum right away, but it's $1 million a year not to coach there, and he is leaving because he himself, it wasn't he knew about something and didn't act. He himself committed, hitting a player is beyond heinous acts for a coach. You shouldn't do that. And he did those things. And he's getting $7.5 million. Like that's just not right.
He's getting 7.75. It's almost $8 million. Yeah, no, you're right. It's not. And I've kind of, balked a bit every time I've seen the next round of big coaching hires and the amount of money they're getting in these contracts. It's gotten to a point of just such excess. And I think college football, college sports, but especially football has been suffering from a bit of an excess problem for a while now. I mean, the lengths to which these locker rooms have started to look and things like that, it's gotten a little bit out of control. I think that's going to start getting reeled back in. I don't know how you change the coaching structure, though, because the agents are certainly not going to want to change the way that it is now. They're making a ton of money. But, yeah, when you're in the middle of a pandemic, and I haven't seen South Carolina eliminating any sports. I don't know if they've even, eliminated any jobs like a lot of others have yet, but – yeah, kind of hard to explain a guy at Wichita State doing all of the wrong things, doing all the things he's not supposed to do, and then, you get rid of his job, but you pay him nearly $8 million. It just doesn't make any sense, and something's got to change there. That's just not right.
I was looking at some of the names of we went over the roster, the 2017 team. And there's about 25 or so players who were part of that team. We mentioned how many are in the NFL, how many are coaching, how many are doing this, how many have just retired, how many were asked to leave or told to leave. And, man, they're not going through that just the one time at 1-11. They're having to go through it again. And you just wonder if there's a breaking point for them. And I use that term not to use it because I had asked Dave Aranda that earlier this year. Also, Mark Colombo, former Cowboys offensive lineman, part of the New York Giants offensive line staff, correct? He was the offensive line coach. Paul, what happened with Mark Colombo?
He and Joe Judge got into it because Joe Judge was bringing in a consultant. Colombo didn't like it. Colombo apparently called him a very bad name, and they got really heated. They did not come to blows. There was some report that they did, and that's actually two pretty big guys, especially Mark Colombo. But, yeah, Mark Colombo is no longer the offensive line coach in New York. He was the offensive line coach for Jason Garrett for a couple years as well. So, I'm sure, and he was well thought of in Dallas, and Jason Garrett, brought him along to New York. But more I read about this, the more, like, early on in the season, people were saying that Colombo and Joe Judge were going to clash just because of their personalities, and looks like that happened.
Mark Colombo's an assistant coach, and him clashing with the head coach is dangerous. Mm-hmm. Because I know someone else might hire him if he's a pretty good coach. I don't know if he's very good at what he does. He was a pretty good player, right?
Well, I mean, somebody's going to look at the ineptness of the New York organization and ultimately say, well, we'll give them a chance. It'll be different here. We don't have all the dysfunction. And maybe it's just an anger issue. Maybe it is something that you need to be wary of. I don't know. But I think that just speaks to the dysfunction of that entire club, that they're dealing with something like that. It's so rare to hear a story like this of coaches getting into it like that. So must have been pretty bad. Paul, did it say what he actually said?
It was a pretty bad word.
It was, okay. Yeah, I mean, I figured since you didn't say it, but I was wondering if they actually reported what exactly it was. But yeah, bad enough, obviously.
There was no altercation physically. That's something the Giants spokesperson cleared that up. He goes, absolutely false in every way. There was name calling, but they did not get into what, as one report said, a fist fight. And how can you sit there and report a fist fight if you, in fact, did not see a fist fight? Unless you're trying to get,
Well, and I know probably that's the one that's got the most retweets and likes, the false one, and not the one that's actually no, it wasn't a fist fight. That one's got 10. The one that says it's a fist fight's got 150, and that's why this spread of information, you got to be so careful with what you read, and you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt because a lot of bad stuff gets out there.
No, you're right, and that's you've made comments about you see one story and it gets 1,500, 5,000, whatever. And then the follow-up to it that might have actual facts and evidence, it just dies on the vine.
Yeah, it's not as fun. So people just don't even push it out there.
We'll have Olin Buchanan, Texags.com, 445. They, of course, have no game again this week. John Machota, Football Bob at 5:30. Coming up next, Mount Vernon head football coach Art Briles on their win this past week against Gladewater. They play West right in our backyard. They'll be playing West, the Trojans. We had their running back, Trey Yannick, on the show last week, and his story about being so close to that fertilizer plant. So Art Briles on his program at Mount Vernon, next on SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com, Dr. Kent Petty. PettyClinicLowT.com can help you become the high-performance man that you want and need to be. How? contact them. Go to pettycliniclowt.com. He can help you get blood work. That way he can see what your testosterone levels are, and if they're too low, either slightly low or very low, he can put you in a program to increase your testosterone levels for you to become the high-performance man you want to be. How do you do that? Again, go to pettycliniclowt.com, contact them, call them, and they'll get you in for an appointment to have your blood work done and get discounted rate. Tell him Smokey sent you. He'll look at the rate, he'll look at your levels, then put you in a program, and it could be from anything, from your sex drive to sleeping. It could be from just your energy. It could be a combination of everything. And it could be nothing. It might be something else. And so if it's not your testosterone, then you have to check for something else if you just don't feel right. pettycliniclowt.com.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'Em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Mount Vernon head football coach Art Briles with us on Sic'Em365 Radio. I know enough about the history of the schools at East Texas, being there for nearly 3 decades. The win you had, and I know you're focused on West, but the win you had against what Gladewater has, that had to be impressive. How much of an adrenaline rush or a shot in the arm does that give your team and the staff?
Oh, it was definitely a big win, Smoke. And by the way, hope everything's well with you.
You too.
And everybody there. But no, it was it was a great win. You know, I think it's, of course, the first time in the history of the school that they've, beaten them. And Gladewater's just a perennial power out here in East Texas. And we were very fortunate. Our guys played extremely well, very disciplined, and, were able to pull off a big win. I'm sure everybody else in our region is liking us right now because nobody wanted to play Gladewater, so now they're not in it, and it kind of changes up the dynamics of the region. So
I had a text from somebody very late Friday night that said Coach Briles called one of the best games of his life. Now, I know you've had some amazing days in which you've done that at Stephenville and Baylor, and hell, maybe Italy. But was it one of those, because you knew it was going to be a shootout and you were able to win a shootout?
Well, it might have been the best game in my 60s. I don't know about anything else. So that would be kind of a limited number. But we had a bunch of good games in Italy, by the way. So it was that was a fun deal. But it was a straight team effort deal, and our guys, like I said, executed extremely well. I mean, we were kind of a hungry football team because we'd really sustained a couple of really tough non-wins. The last couple of games got beat on the last second field goal, and then, going down to win against Pottsboro and fumbled ball on the plus 12, and end up getting beat by 6 there. So we were hungry, and hungry teams have a chance to advance. So our goal and our mission this week is to keep the same mentality that we had going into Gladewater.
You still don't know how to say that word that starts with an L, do you?
If I say it, slap me, folk. Okay, and no, I don't like using the L word.
I understand it's a 4-letter word for coaches. Now, the next opponent, West, obviously they're playing pretty well. The Grandview, that's in their district, a really good district, and Grandview's kind of run the 3A the last couple of years. Your thoughts about what you've seen early? They have the running back who's put up big numbers, Yannick, but your thoughts about West?
Just solid. I'm extremely well coached. Do a lot of things, a lot of disguises defensively, do a great job offensively using their personnel. Yannick's a good running back, quarterback's effective. They got a good O-line, good D-line. They got good skilled people on the back end, and they're just a good football team. The thing about being in the second round, there's not going to be any bad teams left. The first round's when, if there's something that somebody that might have lucked in or something, you don't luck in the second round. So you're going to play extremely talented, good football teams that are well coached from here on out. And like I said, our region, as Smoke is, without question, I think you could say the toughest region in the state of Texas in 3A.
You had a stretch of a month where you had 2 forfeit wins, and then those games you mentioned against Winsboro and Pottsboro. So it had been a while since you had won a game, technically, as far as on the field won a game. Was that something that concerned you because it was kind of erratic, the schedule, the way it's gone this year in 2020?
No, it really was, because we went a month without, tasting victory. And, I looked it up this morning just out of curiosity, but the previous 5 games we played, starting with Rains, Commerce, Mineola, Winsboro, Pottsboro, the combined record of those teams is 33-5. And we stepped on the field against them. So we played some extremely talented and well-coached, well-balanced football teams prior to the Gladewater game, which I think really helped us playing Gladewater. So that was a big boost for us, because we've been through the fire before.
You have the quarterback in Brock Neller who's putting up big numbers. I know it's more than him. The receivers and the offensive line, all that has to work, and, of course, defense and special teams. But how well is he playing, and how much has he improved from a year ago?
It's crazy. He moved in here from Colorado, didn't play quarterback in Colorado, played tight end. just kind of played off and on through the first 5 games last year. His brother alternated quarterback, and CJ actually played some quarterback also. So Brock really wasn't our guy a year ago. And then this year, he's it, and he's done a tremendous job. And the thing that I like about our football team is, like I've been telling them, is we still have a lot of growth in front of us, because you mentioned the 2 games that were forfeited to us would have been opportunities to do some things and look at some personnel that we hadn't had a chance to, but we didn't get to do it. So Brock, where he's at with just 1 year playing QB, is pretty phenomenal. He's extremely intelligent, extremely motivated, and he's a consummate team player.
You had a game earlier this year, Coach, that you beat Paul Pewitt, and I know, again, where talent is in East Texas, and it's almost everywhere, but you won the game 42-14. But before that week, you got hit with COVID, and the superintendent, Jason McCullough, asked you, is that right, if you wanted to cancel the game, and you said, heck, let's play the game, and you brought up some JV guys. What was that week like?
It was, of course, everything's uncharted territory, and we actually had 6 guys out, 4 on defense starters, and then 2 on offense that had COVID that week. And, we could have opted out, but you think about it. These guys, 95% of them will never put on pads again. They'll never get to play again. This is their goal. This is their dream. This is their motivation. And so I'm going to walk in there and say, we're not going to play because we got 3 or 4 players out. No, if we're able to play the game, we're going to play, because that's why you go to school, and that's why you play high school football, is to play the game.
How much have you enjoyed these last 2 years? The innocence that is still a part of high school football, and just getting back on the field and being able to coach in Texas?
Well, I should be able to coach in Texas or anywhere, but I've enjoyed the heck out of it. With the Italy trip, like I said, last year I coached in 2019 26 football games as a head coach, and this will be, I guess, 11 or 12 this year. So I've got to coach a lot, and I got a great staff. I got a great town here in Mount Vernon. Administration's unbelievable. These people are just, as you know, East Texas people are just kind of like what I grew up with in West Texas. Just good folks, that judge you by what you do and who you are, and not by anything else. And so there's a sense of innocence that's extremely refreshing. But the main thing is just the opportunity to, get on the field, match wits, preparation, watching kids grow and get better, and have discipline, determination, and motivation from within that's what inspires me. The wins and losses, I've been doing it a while, folks, since '79. So, those are fun. I was extremely excited the other night for Mount Vernon, and Mount Vernon, Texas, and Mount Vernon High School, and that's my motivation.
What more excites you, the coaching and preparing for a game or game night? Is there any question?
Well, the preparation is what I've always loved. I've always said I'm happiest in a dark room with a projector going, and just preparing and trying to figure out what gives us the best opportunity to win and how to do it. And then, the game is just kind of like, that's when the product's out there and you let it go to work. But the preparation to me is where the discipline and determination and the mentality of the game and the intellectual part of the game comes into play.
I want to bring up a picture I saw. A parent or a teacher put this up, and I saw it with you. It was, senior night. A player was about to walk through the line, and there was nobody in line with him. I don't know his background, but you left what was going on during warm-ups of the game, walked over there to be with that young man. What was that like, and what was that moment like, you think, for him and you?
Well, to me, it was I don't think I did anything anybody else would do that cares about people. That unfortunately, that young man lives with his grandmother, and she's in a wheelchair, and she wasn't able to make it, which I didn't know any of this. And we're just out there doing warm-ups in the middle field. I look over there and just kind of notice that he's next in line, and he's standing there by himself. And, instinctively just thought, hey, I'm that nobody's going to walk alone, So I walked over there and, got to walk with him, and it was just it's something that, you know, as you're raised as a person, you care about other people. And that's just like I gave a guy a ride this morning I'd never seen before in my life. He was carrying a bag, and I was, you know, at a little Duke's, you know, truck stop getting a cup of coffee about 6:45, and he's walking out of the parking lot. It's 37 degrees. So I just pull over and ask him if he needs a ride, you know, and he says yes. And so I take him down. He was actually going to a job in, I hate to use the word downtown, but it didn't, you know, Mount Vernon, down on the square. So drop him off. But that's, you know, that is the innocence of small town America. And I do appreciate it. And I don't take it for granted.
What did he say to you when you picked him up?
I just said, hey, you need a ride? Are you walking somewhere? He said, yes, sir. And, you know, come to find out he's got 7 daughters that went to school here, and he had been living in Dallas for a while and had just come back here, and he was helping this guy close down the shop. But it was about a 2.5 mile walk. So I felt good about doing it, you know, and the good thing is you can pick up people around here and you know, trust them for who they are and what they are, and not have to be worried about anything.
Did you talk to Coach Monty after the win Tulsa had against SMU, now in the top 25? Have you seen that?
No, they're in the top 25.
Yeah, they did. They came back from 21 down. Zach Smith, who you recruited.
I did talk to him, yes, sir, to answer your question. I didn't know they were in the top 25.
Yeah, they're in the top 25. It's been a great year for them.
I talked to those guys Saturday night. You know, they've got really, with their defense coordinator is a guy I coached in Stephenville that was on my staff when I was at Stephenville, Joseph Gillespie.
Yep.
So they got a lot of our guys there. That's just awesome. Monty and that staff has done an unbelievable job in a very tough situation. And, you know, Zach's a great kid and a great player, and I'm really, really happy to see him have success.
What's it like in Mount Vernon? I'll wrap it up with this. You get the huge win. Are they starting to paint like the windows at the donut shops and all that stuff? Is it too early for that?
I think it's a little too early for that, Smoke. I mean, they're, you know, I don't get out. I mean, I stay in the office here and then do my stuff and go home. But I think everybody's, you know, pretty excited because we had been through it, like you mentioned, a couple of tough weeks, and so this kind of gives us a chance to, you know, let Mount Vernon have a little respect out here in East Texas, and it's extremely hard to get with all these traditional names that are out here, which you're very familiar with.
Art Briles, head football coach at Mount Vernon on SicEm365 Radio.
All right, coming up in the next segment, Olin Buchanan, Texags.com. A group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas started to become frustrated and eventually became very frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, trying the do-it-yourself type diets. So they opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. If you're a patient who suffers from complications of obesity, if you're struggling to lose weight, you've tried it all of the do-it-yourself diets possible, often that results in 25% of the weight you lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. They wanted to see a different approach that might work, and they opened up Muscle-Wise Nutrition, a coach-managed diet program to help lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis for you. Email them if you're interested, Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com. Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of their coaches, one of their specialists, will contact you promptly to set you up for a free educational seminar. So stop losing the muscle weight and start losing fat at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Cap, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
A group of over 30 physicians in Central Texas became frustrated seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves. They opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. We've seen too many patients suffer from complications of obesity. Patients who have tried countless do-it-yourself diets, which often results in 25% of the weight they lose coming from muscle breakdown and muscle loss. We needed another approach, so we opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed diet program to lose substantial weight, targeting fat while sparing muscle. Dieters are seen weekly by a coach who performs detailed body composition analysis. Please email us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com, and one of our coaches will contact you promptly to get you set up for our free educational seminars. Lose weight by losing fat and sparing muscle. Start Muscle-Wise today. Contact us at Sic'em365 at MuscleWiseNutrition.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio. This segment with Olin Buchanan of TexAgs.com is sponsored by Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, with over 40 group exercise classes Monday through Sunday on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
442, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com with us on Sic'em365 Radio. Olin, I guess A&M will play again. How are they dealing with the delays and the downtime? Is it healing time, practice reps time? What are they doing?
Yeah, all of that. They've tried to put a silver lining on it and approach it as positively as they could. I think Isaiah Spiller might have had a sore ankle. You might have saw him have to leave the game against South Carolina early in the third quarter. So they looked at it. Hey, Jared Hocker was hurt. Not sure exactly what it was. So they took the approach that, hey, we can get some guys healthy. And then the guys that are able to practice, not just from injuries, but from the contact tracing, they would, just try to work on, identify what they need to get better at and work on it. So, of course, you'd rather play when you've been playing so well. You don't want the season to be interrupted while you're surging. But, they're just trying to make, what do they say, chicken salad out of chicken feathers or something like that.
Something like that.
Well, the next team they've got to play, Olin, is LSU, and that matchup is vastly different going in this year. The tide has turned for both teams in the opposite direction. How different do you think that game will be come Saturday, November 28th?
Well, I think it'll be different. I think A&M will go in as the team that's expected to win, and I'd be surprised if they did not. So just looking at it that way, look, Joe Burrow's not out there. Jordan Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and all those guys that were all those first-round draft choices and high picks aren't out there for LSU anymore. So just obviously that alone makes you feel better. But A&M's, last year, not only was LSU a better team, but LSU came in surging. They were really on a roll, and they were upset for the way the game went in College Station the year before, that 7 overtime game, and they wanted to settle a score. And I think all those things, all those roles are somewhat reversed this year. I think A&M has the better team. I think A&M is surging, and I know they kept that 50-7 score up in the locker room for quite a while at A&M. So, they feel like they got a score to settle now.
Olin, who has made, in your opinion, the biggest jump from last year to this year for A&M?
Oh, boy, that is a good question. The biggest jump? Well, it's hard to say Isaiah Spiller because he almost had 1,000 yards last year, but he's been really good. Maybe Aniyah Smith. I mean, we saw flashes of what he could be last year, but I think he's turned into a consistent threat. But, now that as I talk about it, you have to say it's Kellen Mond. Last year he was up and down. Even when he was up, he wasn't as good as he's been this year. Now you could say that, you could say the offensive line as a whole would fit in that category you just brought up, that question. And maybe that's why Kellen is doing so well. But if I had to put one person, I think it would be Kellen that's made the greatest leap compared to what he did last year.
Well, we know the SEC, the scores are different now. Much of it could be the fact that there was no chance to really have non-conference games. It could be COVID. It could be a lot of different things. But there are some games where the scores are getting more like what everyone used to talk about with the Big 12. My question for you, though, the A&M still seems like when I'm watching that they're playing pretty good defense. Yeah, Florida's good, and Alabama's good, and others. But your thoughts about the guys who have stepped up defensively and those who might play at the next level, even if they're underclassmen right now?
Oh, gosh. I think this A&M defense has probably 7 or 8 guys that I think are playing in the NFL. Now, some of those guys are freshmen right now, and not even a starter. McKinley Jackson at defensive tackle, I think there's no doubt about him. Maybe even Jalen Jones at cornerback. But I think we'd all agree on the Marvin Leal has an NFL future. I think Jaden Peavy does. I think Bobby Brown does. I think Buddy Johnson has played really well this year. In fact, he could have been one of the guys I would mention on that last question. I think Damani Richardson will play pro ball someday. So I think it's a more talented A&M defense than they've had since they've been probably the most talented defense overall they've had since they moved into the SEC, and that includes some of those defenses with Miles Garrett on. But they're good at they're at least sound at every level, and you couldn't always say that. And I think they have a lot of guys that their best football is still ahead of them.
Have you seen, since A&M's doing so well, the uptick in recruiting, or at least more? I mean, he was already doing well, no doubt, Jimbo Fisher was. But have you seen maybe even an uptick now that it's looking like he's got his sea legs?
Yeah, I think so. They've done pretty well already. And I saw today there was a defensive lineman, I think he is, that announced that he's going to it's between A&M and Georgia. There's a running back out of the Houston area that's highly regarded, and he's considering A&M, and an offensive lineman out of Katy. So I think what's happened is you feel. I think they only have about 5 or 6 spots left. So they recruited pretty well early, and then I think what this success they've has done is keep them in contention for some of the big names that they're hoping to land here at the end.
How has Jimbo Fisher addressed any talk about the playoff and the possibilities there? I mean, obviously there's still a ways to go. They're in really good position, Owen, but how has he sort of balanced that talk as it starts to grow?
He pretty much ignores it, to tell you the truth, because we've asked him about it. And, his answer always comes down to, we got to win. And if we don't win, our last games, it really doesn't matter because we're not going to be in the discussion. So, we know that's a coach speak, and that's how most coaches approach it. But he's right. I mean, if they don't win their games, it doesn't matter what happens between Clemson and Notre Dame or somebody like Oregon, the Pac-12, or Florida, or whoever you want to bring up, Cincinnati. It really doesn't matter if A&M doesn't win out and finish on 9-1 or whatever, because one more loss and they're going to be out of the discussion anyway.
Yeah, that's true. They do have this break. LSU is supposed to be next after Thanksgiving. Oh, it is Thanksgiving weekend. It's a home game as well. How did South Carolina beat Auburn? Who did they beat? That?
Yeah, they did.
How in the hell did that happen, Olin? Can you please explain that to me?
Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They were calling Bo Picks after that. After that, I have some friends from Auburn. They were very upset about it. But yeah, it really came down to that.
Wow. What were your thoughts? Go ahead, Craig.
No, what were your thoughts on Muschamp getting cut?
I wasn't surprised. If I was surprised, it was only because we've all heard so much talk about so many teams are losing revenue, so many programs are because of COVID and all this. But I'd also been reading out of the Columbia State newspaper out of South Carolina, and I saw one story where they had the quote, the unnamed boosters who had been threatening that they were not going to that they weren't going to be contributing as long as he was the coach. People had already, even before COVID, had already stopped buying season tickets, and that's a place where even though they haven't been a great program over time, they always get great support, fan support. So that had to be alarming, and then just they gave up 159 points in the last 3 games combined. And losing is one thing, but when you're absolutely getting embarrassed, that's another. So I really wasn't that surprised. And if I was, again, it was only because of the whole COVID thing. You wondered if anybody would pull the trigger in a year where you're not making as much money as usual.
Well, and clear that's not a big problem. A lot of people, Utah State and now South Carolina, and I'm sure others to come. Maybe USC.
Yeah, maybe USC, maybe Michigan, maybe Texas. There's a lot of speculation. Who knows what's going to happen? I keep hearing Urban Meyer's going everywhere, except back to the TV and back to Ohio State. So who knows what's going to happen there? But it's funny. I once made one of the dumbest comments I ever made from my previous job, and someone asked me if Philip Fulmer was going to get fired at Tennessee, and at that time, the state of Tennessee was in the red. And I said, well, the state's in debt. I don't know if they can afford it. And I think he got fired the next day. So I've learned that in college football, if you need to make the move, somebody out there or groups of people out there will offer the money to get it done. And I think that's what happened in South Carolina.
Hey, Owen, I know that the focus right now is on football, but basketball is right around the corner. I saw where yesterday A&M opted out of the Crossover Classic. It's a lot of these tournaments are going to be interrupted and whatnot, but is there any kind of buzz around Buzz and the Aggies as he heads into another season?
Oh, well, I think I don't know if there's buzz yet, maybe a little hum because there's so much excitement around football,
right? That
they're like, oh yeah, basketball's coming up, and I think they're going to be pretty good, that kind of thing. But he just did finish had a recruiting class that they signed that they're really excited about. I had a guy that understands like a top 50 player in the country. I can't say his name. I don't have it in front of me. So, but it's supposed to be a really big time player, a 5-star guy, and they don't get a whole lot of. I heard he's the first 5-star basketball recruit here since DeAndre Jordan. So that's something to be excited about. And A&M, I think they have most of their team back, but of course the 2 guys they lost Wendell Mitchell, you guys are familiar with him, and Josh Nebo are going to be two hard guys to replace, but it will be Buzz in his second year. So, I think there's every reason to feel like they can have a successful season. They're not going to be challenging Kentucky yet, I don't think, or Tennessee, but I think after the way they closed last year and with the guys they have coming back, they feel like they can have a successful year.
I like this Isaiah Spiller, and I've brought him up before, and I know they've played 6 games or whatever, but he seems to be just a stud. And I know he came from Klein Collins. I actually got to watch him once when he was in high school, averaging over 100 yards per game. How much has he helped settle down? I know they've had Williams and others at running back, but he seems to be just the alpha dog.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know it because he didn't by anything except the way he plays, because he doesn't say a whole lot. And that's one of the things that you like about him too. But David, if you really watch the guy, not only does he run hard, he'll run through tackles, a 300-pound guy. Again, he's not the fastest guy, but he's fast enough. But he is always attacking. But man, you really watching. He catches the ball well. And I think what would surprise people is how good he is in pass protection. He's really good at that. He's a complete back, but yeah, he's going to get attention because of the way he carries the ball, because you're not going to arm it. You're going to have to hit him hard and put him on the ground, as a Florida linebacker learned on a 4th and 2, because he's not going to go down unless you make him go down. He really has been we knew he was good last year when he rushed for almost 1,000 yards as a freshman, and coming in, we had heard that he'd done a lot of things to change his body and to get better. And the question was, how good was he going to be? And I don't know if anybody would have said he was going to be as good as he is. He might be the best player on the team.
Yep, good. Thank you, Olin. Appreciate you, man. Good luck having a game here pretty soon.
Yeah, we got our fingers crossed. Yeah. Supposedly, it looks good for A&M, but of course, you got to make sure the other team is going to be ready to go too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your time, Olin Buchanan, with us on Wednesdays at 4:45. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, that Houston-SMU game, that's the second opponent SMU was going to play. TCU and Houston have canceled or postponed, whatever you want, canceled with TCU, postponed. SMU, of course, coming off the loss to Tulsa. I'm sure they'd like to get right back out there and possibly play. Kansas and Texas. That game has been, I would think, pushed back, and maybe to December 12th. That's that open date for most people. Is that right?
Yep.
So they were playing well and had the bye week. It would have been a nice chance. I'm playing Kansas. I know you can insert the jokes as you want with KU and Texas, but you would wonder if that hurts them a little bit. All right, now coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, John Machota. He'll join us on the Cowboys and Vikings game coming up, and at 5:30 football, Bob, on many things, looking at what he saw, who improved, who did not. SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty and his staff can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. How do you do that? By going to their website and contacting their staff. PettyClinicLowT.com. What can they do for you? What can Dr. Petty do for you? He can get you scheduled an appointment to get your blood work at a discounted rate. Tell him Smokey sent you. And then look at your testosterone levels. He'll also test for other things that you need to be tested for, including, because you're a man, your PSA testing level. Also cholesterol, among other things as well. But the testosterone level is critical when it comes to your energy, your sex drive, or just feeling good and feeling right. And he could put you in a program if your testosterone levels are too low, maybe even very low, to get you back to the level you need to be so you could be the high-performance man that you want to be. Dr. Kent Petty started this business. It's just been a handful of years ago, and now he has hundreds of patients, some from outside of Waco, who drive in from other parts of the state because it costs more money there. Even with the drive, it's worth going to see Dr. Kent Petty at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Now get employee pricing for all on new Jeeps from Allen Samuels. Just in time for the holidays, Grand Cherokee Limited has 0% for 84 months and no payments for 90 days. Or pick a cool Jeep Compass or the rugged Jeep Renegade Subcompact. Take your pick because both feature employee pricing for all. 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. It's the Black Friday sales event at Allen Samuels. Your friend in the car business.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Sliding.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments, with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing his time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, we'll have John Machota, The Athletic, in just a moment. Athletic.com. Also today at 5:30, Football Bob looking back at Baylor and also ahead to what they ought to be and look at during the off week. We mentioned some of the NFL news. Multiple Raiders defensive players on the COVID-19 list. And then this one, 32 teams, all of them, will operate for the rest of the year under the league's intensive protocol. This is from Judy Bautista. The calls for, among other restrictions, players, coaches must have a negative from the previous day's testing before entering the facility. In addition, the regular PCR testing, meetings held virtually, all of that, meals must be served in grab-and-go style to prevent people from congregating in meal rooms. Locker room use is strongly discouraged on non-game days. So that's happening. The NFL trying to make sure that they tap down any of the flare-ups that they might be having right now. We're now joined by John Machota of TheAthletic.com, covers the Cowboys with us as well. John, the story about this as far as the NFL, the Cowboys have been pretty fortunate, right? I saw where Tyrone Crawford is coming off, in fact, that COVID-19 protocol list.
That's right. Yeah, him and Andy Dalton are. They have been. You know, we were at the practice today they had was indoors. And so while we were making our way over to inside the Ford Center, I saw they had out in the kind of out in like the atrium where normally people would get food and or go to the restroom. They've actually turned that into another area for basically study for them to hold meetings and things like that. There were a bunch of TVs set up and tables spaced out so that it was only set up for basically one player per table. And it took almost an entire hallway inside that Ford Center. And so you can tell that they're already doing things. They're trying to, adhere to these new protocols and things like that. And obviously there's going to be even more going forward, but they have done, I mean, they have a lot of space to work with too. So, I mean, that fortunately has helped them out. But it goes beyond just what they do at the facility. It's what they do when they're at home too. And, talking to Ezekiel Elliott today, he was kind of jokingly asked at the beginning of his interview about, what he did during the bye week if he went anywhere. And he just laughed. And he's like, yeah, maybe I walked from like my room into the front room, and watched TV. That was about it. Like, he's like, we didn't do anything. Like, that's just how it's been. So yeah, they've done a good job, up to this point, but, and I just feel like as soon as you say that, then there's something that happens. So it's like, I think everybody's kind of just trying to be as cautious as you can, but I think there's only so much that you can do, especially when, you're playing a sport where you just have to be around others.
Yeah. There seems to be some confidence though, John, around the team, surprisingly enough, based on what I heard from DeMarcus Lawrence and Zeke Elliott.
There was, I don't know where that comes from, but the one thing I'll say that they've been fortunate about is that they're in an historically terrible division that kind of keeps the window kind of from being completely closed, no matter how bad things get. So that's been one thing that's helped them. The other thing is that just these last two games, they just have looked more like we expected out of them. Now, I think if you have Andy Dalton instead of Garrett Gilbert or Ben DiNucci in these last two games, I think they would have won one of them. And then you're only a half game back of first place in division instead of a game and a half. So yeah, I was a little surprised. DeMarcus Lawrence was really positive, and I don't know if it's some just energy from the bye week and getting a little time away, but no, he was really motivated about what he's seen from this team. And Chidobe Awuzie, it's the first time we got to talk to him in a long time since he's been dealing with a hamstring issue. He talked about how he thinks one of the key differences in the team, particularly these last two games, is that moving Antoine Woods into that defensive tackle spot and how it's helped them in their run defense. For the first 7 games, it was that Don Terry Poe was their starter in the middle there, and that obviously wasn't getting the job done. So it's just an interesting thing to hear Cheeto say that, because that has been a move that I think people probably, it's easy to overlook because, Antoine Woods doesn't get a ton of sacks, and he kind of, a lot of that defensive tackle work is a little thankless. And so, that's one thing, because their run defense has just absolutely been better. And that's one of the biggest issues that they've had the previous weeks when they were getting blown out. And so we'll see this week, though. They'll get the real test when they get Dalvin Cook. We'll see if they can hold him down.
Based on your time around watching practices and things like that, did that story out of New York involving Mark Colombo surprise you at all?
That is an interesting story. I can't. No, it doesn't surprise me, just because of Colombo's personality and then just everything I've seen from afar from Joe Judge. It doesn't surprise me that they would get into it. Now, if there were like punches thrown, and now I've since seen the report that wasn't true, but I think that takes it a little bit further. I mean, I think both guys are pretty professional, but for them to get heated and, exchange some words and things like that, and guys being upset with each other, no, those are two pretty strong personalities. So that was interesting though today, because that was all coming out like pretty much right when we got to practice, and I was just like telling some other reporters, I'm like, look at this, man, like what if this started happening right here on the field right now? I mean, man, that would be wild. But no, I mean, I think whatever happened behind closed doors. But Yeah, I mean, Mark Colombo, obviously a huge dude. I don't know that former NFL offensive lineman. I don't know how loud you want to be getting with him, and I don't think you want to be trading punches with him.
No, he seems like he'd be a perfect professional wrestler in a lot of ways. Now, Awuzie appears to be back. And then, of course, Trayvon Diggs, one of their best players. At least he's been making some plays, a couple of picks 2 weeks ago. He's now out. How much of a loss is that for them at a position where they've obviously struggled?
Huge loss. I mean, not only a guy that, he had the 2 interceptions against Philly, which obviously leads the team right now. Cheeto, they get back, who he has the team's only other interception. So it's kind of one of those deals where you're just like, yeah, you'd like to see what they would have looked like with both of them out on the field at the same time, and then finally getting some depth at corner, but that's not going to be the case. And so, yeah, that's a huge loss. Diggs also leads them in passes defense. I mean, he just was really, I feel like, improving, and he gives you really hope on that defensive side of the ball for the future. Cheeto, he's in the final year of his rookie deal. He might not even be back with the team after this season, but yeah, it's kind of ironic that you finally get Cheeto healthy with this hamstring issue. He's been out since it happened in the second game of the season. And so he's finally getting back out there. Now you can't get him back out there with your other top DB. And so I think it helps. I mean, obviously Cheeto's a veteran, like I said, 4th year. You definitely want those guys out there. He has an interception already. And so, it obviously helps. It's when I look at this roster, just kind of ironic the way where they've had some of their injuries, and they're the places that really don't have the greatest of depth. Whereas then you see like at wide receiver where they have great depth, they've been able to stay 5 deep healthy the entire season. No one's really missed a beat over there, where they could actually afford if a player was to go down, they actually have some guys that could step up there. But corner, I mean, you guys know it. The last decade plus, corner just hasn't really been a strength for this team, and you finally think that you're going to get Cheeto with Trayvon Diggs and then Anthony Brown. I think those are their 3 top corners. And it won't happen. But obviously getting Cheeto back is better than just losing Diggs and then have to go back to, what they were doing before, where they were starting guys like Darryl Worley and things like that.
Yeah, by the way, I don't know if you saw, and the Bills had to pick up Darryl Worley, and the minute that he had to go in the game the other day, Kyler Murray threw right at him and got a completion. So not much has changed depending on where he is. The cornerbacks, it's interesting you bring that up, that pairing of Trayvon and Cheeto. We may never get to see that, will we, John? Because Cheeto's a free agent, isn't he?
He is, and that's the thing. Like the way it looks right now, unless there's just this crazy turnaround, then all of a sudden they start playing great on the back end of the defense, and they're like, you know what? We need to keep this group together, which, again, I don't see this happening. But unless that happens, like I expect them to use, if it's not their first-round pick, a second or a third or something significant on another corner to pair with Trayvon Diggs. Now, that could be what they do with their first-round pick. And if you do that, you're certainly starting that player. You're not using a first-round pick on a corner. You're probably not even a second-round pick like they did with Diggs on a corner, not to play the guy right away. So, the 2017 draft, they went out and they got Cheeto. They got in the second round, they got Jordan Lewis in the 3rd, and then they got Xavier Woods at safety in the 6th. And man, I just think that this draft is going to look a lot like that coming up. I think there's going to be several DBs drafted. And hey, let's look at Mike McCarthy's. In 3 of his last 4 years in Green Bay, 3 of those last 4 drafts were they drafted a DB with both their first and their second round pick. So he's obviously been used to, being around that type of, investment on the back end. And so I could see that very well being the case in April's draft.
John, I was just curious, for you covering the team, does it feel the way that it felt in terms of, do you feel like you have the same type of a pulse as you would under normal circumstances?
No. I think it's been lessened. I mean, just the fact that, you don't get to go in the locker room and just have regular conversation with guys. It's like your interactions you get are very, very sterile,
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking to these guys, you're talking to them in a room with 5 or 6 other people that are in there, and then whoever else is on the conference call. It's just not very personable. One of the best parts of, under Jason Garrett's time as head coach is that after the press conferences, we'd go and walk off with him and talk to him for another, 5 or 10 minutes about stuff off the record. You just would know a lot more stuff from that. And so, this season's definitely different from that respect. And I'm just kind of starting to get used to it because I think a lot of that is going to stay the same next year. I don't know where everyone just snaps their fingers and says, okay, we're fine. if there's a vaccine or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden they're going to start letting us back in the locker room again. I don't know if that's going to happen for another year or so. And so, no, it's definitely less access, that's for sure. And then even the other part of it is too, is you see lots of reporters coming out there because it's just not really worth their time if you don't live that close to the facility. You're only getting to see the first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of practice, and then you're getting the players and coaches that you can get from home just by calling in on your phone, and so those numbers have really dwindled down. I think there's probably only about 6 or 7 of us that still are going out there on every Wednesday and Thursday.
Anything else, Paul?
Nope.
All right. Again, John, we appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook and company with that running game against the Cowboys who've tightened it up a little bit. We'll see if that continues against the Vikings on the road. That's John Machota, theathletic.com. Armstrong today and Jack are running the mothership. Also, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. I'm David Smoke. This is Sic'em365 Radio. Ideal MRI, idealmri.com, located in the Central Texas marketplace, and they can help you find out what might be more than just something that's kind of sore. You've torn something. You have something that is broken. Obviously, you go to your doctor, you get advice, and they say, hey, we probably, if they get an x-ray, we need to get an MRI. I don't know how many of you have had something where an x-ray was not enough. You needed an MRI to get something even more clear of what might be going on with you and why it hurts so much. If your doctor suggests you need an MRI, you need to then ask them about Ideal MRI, and it's in the Central Texas marketplace, idealmri.com. Here's what they have. That is state-of-the-art technology, an MRI machine that is just like the one you will get at any health system. And by the way, I've been through the process of getting the appointment, which was easy even back during about the time COVID began in the middle to late part of March. And then after that, the appointment to where I show up, check in, everything's flawless. It didn't take long. I was in the MRI machine, and that normally can be something that for me is not an easy thing to do. But the Texan specialist helped me out. Went through it. Got it done. Everything was easy, felt comfortable. It was relaxing. And then got a call from Dr. Rob Maxey with my results to go over what he saw on the MRI, then sent me a copy, and I sent it to my orthopedic surgeon for him to look at as well. IdealMRI.com. That's just a part of the process. Now talk about the cost. On average, in
Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
How often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates.
Ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
Welcome back to Sic'em365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, we'll have Football Bob at 5:30 today. So earlier today, men's basketball. And Craig, you mentioned there's some women's tip times. And Paul, you went into a blood pressure issue.
We'll
get into that because of what you used to do of matching up schedules and all the things you had to do with the station we were at. But the Baylor men's basketball team, on Wednesday, Scott Drew, 1:30 most every week, is having a media session, a Zoom session. We've had players. And today also available was Flo Thamba, who's going to have more minutes this year. With the news yesterday, Tristan Clark is retiring. So here's Tristan Clark. Paul Catalina had a chance to ask him a couple of different questions about his decision to give up basketball.
You mentioned where you were mentally in your rehab and kind of taking over and focusing on that as your kind of goal. Where are you right now, and what did the decision do for you? Like, did it take a weight off your back mentally and allow you to do that? And how do you see that going forward?
Definitely took a big weight off my shoulders. It's a big decision, and we're an elite team, so it's going to have a lot of impact in our community, in the Baylor community, but also the college basketball community. And, but going through all of this and everything I've been through, I just feel like I'm going to use my pain and my frustration that I had, my injury and all the stuff I went through. I'm just going to use it as motivation, so I can help people and I can impact the world the best way I can. And, even though it was a lot going, a lot of stuff I had to go through. I just feel like, I can use all this and I have a story to tell to other athletes, and I can, relate with them and, just help athletes and just, make an impact off the court as much as I did on the court.
Is the sports psychology thing, is that something you've been thinking about for a while, or is that new based on your experience the last year and a half or so?
I thought about it during quarantine, just because my knee I was still rehabbing my knee. But, I'm a guy where I think about all my options, because I knew potentially, I don't know if I'm able to play on this, but, I'm still driven to keep going. But during the quarantine, I just looked up careers that I feel like I could do outside of basketball. And, I saw all the potential careers I could do in my career path for my studies. And I saw sports psychology and I looked up more into it. And I just thought it's a perfect match for me, especially with what I went through and what type of guy I am. I feel like I could make a big impact in there.
All right, that's Tristan Clark, and you got to understand, and we all do, that he's going through emotionally a very difficult time. All of a sudden, what he does for a living, what he thought he would earn a living, is gone. And whether he plays down the road remains to be seen, like some have done that before. But there was, like Craig said, Paul said, a lot of you have said, there's a really good chance that when people rank Baylor 1 or 2 or whatever they are in the country with those polls, that it was they kind of had an idea they weren't going to get much from Tristan Clark.
He was kind of the sprinkles on the Sunday.
Yeah, they weren't ranking them because of anything Tristan Clark related. You know what I mean? Like, that was not why they were the number 2 team in the country or given consideration for number 1. Yeah, I mean, if anything, he was the sprinkles or the cherry on top of what was already a pretty good Sunday. So I don't think like I said earlier, I don't think it changes all that much. You were just, if anything, hoping that he was going to maybe be a shade of what he was a couple of years ago, but that obviously is not the case, and so he would have been relegated to playing a few minutes here and there, and that's about it. So I don't think anybody was really putting too much of the weight of Baylor's basketball season on the shoulders of Tristan Clark.
No, they weren't. And whatever he could have added to the picture or to their team would have been a bonus, as you said, the sprinkles on top. Really, his freshman year was fantastic. And then all of a sudden, I remember the thing was struggle, and then he goes down, and you're like, oh, my God. And they played Kansas. They were down like 20, came back, changed of who they are because of the guard play of what they're doing. We're now joined by Kavion Gaither, senior quarterback linebacker for the Cadets. Conley had their season come to a dramatic end on Thursday night against Center down in the game we covered in Madisonville. And Kavion Gaither today made his commitment to Sam Houston State, and he joins us on Sic'em365 Radio. Hey, man, Kavion, we've watched you. We know you. We've talked with you many, many times. What went into the decision today with Sam Houston State, and how relieved are you?
Yes, sir. Dealing with COVID, there was a lot of situations going on about the dead period and about just how recruiting would be this year with dealing with COVID, because it was really different this year. So, the thing was as soon as the first day they offered, they've been in communication ever since, and they never stopped. So we would usually do like 2 to 3 Zoom calls a week. So the relationship part was probably the number one thing that they started to do for him, and that was good for me. Forming a relationship with the coach. I want to feel like I know the coaches, and I'm at home. I feel like I'm at home, and then I went and visited the campus, and it was great. I just feel like I could definitely see myself being there and just being able to be close to home. My parents love that they can have a chance to be able to come to my games, and even some of my peers from my school or my coaches can come to my games and just watch me, just see what I can do on the field as Sam.
You played a lot of positions at Conley, whether it was running back, quarterback, linebacker, wherever you were needed. Where do they see you sliding in at Sam Houston now?
Yes, sir. So they see me sliding in at defensive back in at any one of the positions, either corner, safety, or the nickel back. They're very versatile. Their DBs are very versatile, and that was the thing that they really liked about me, was that being able to play everything in high school, they feel like it can translate into a better thing on the way to going to college. And that's
Kavion, how much did you know about Sam Houston State? What was kind of your knowledge as you were first contacted by them, and what have you kind of learned?
Yes, sir. So I knew they were located in Huntsville. We always went there for our basketball tournaments usually. So I've always seen their basketball facilities. I never really looked around their campus as much though. And so what they informed me about was they used to be really, really good. I used to have a friend of mine that a coach that used to go to Sam Houston, and whenever he was there, he was the running back Torrance. They were really good in their time, and so they fell off. They haven't fell off, but they've been rebuilding and just working on. They've been a great program for the past several years, and so I just learned that they're criminal based college, but they also have other great majors that you can major in, and just they're very diverse. That's another thing I learned, and then they're really supportive about every program that they have, according to just baseball, basketball, just whatever. They're very passionate about their sports, and their teachers are very well.
By the way, I don't know if you saw this or not. You mentioned the COVID and recruiting. Today, the NCAA Division I Council extended the recruiting dead period through April the 15th. And for football, that means no contact from January 15th to the 30th is now, it's pretty much shut down. So you get what you need, a scholarship. You get to go play what you love is football, and you get to go to a school that's had a championship pedigree because they've played for a couple of national titles as well.
Yes, sir. It's a great blessing, just with all of these circumstances that we've been dealing with COVID. It's just, it's a lot of people are getting lost in the shuffle, and so I'm just blessed and I'm thankful to have the opportunity that Sam Houston gave me, which is to be able to further my education and be able to play football and be able to achieve one of my dreams, which is one day to make it in the NFL.
All right, KG, next week Thanksgiving. I know that you are a budding chef from when we talked earlier this year. What's your job next Thursday?
Ooh, I don't know. I'll just have to check and make sure everything is good. If my mom gives me a job, hopefully it's not with the cooking the turkey or anything special like that. But I'll do something like maybe like get the mashed potatoes going or the green beans or corn, something as simple as that. I'm not an expert cook now, but I can throw down a little bit. I can just get a little side meal started, get a little side started.
Kavion, had the opportunity to interview a couple times in the post game, and obviously got to talk to Coach Anderson every game as well. Can you begin to explain, the relationship between the two of you guys and just what that's meant and how important that has been for both of you actually?
Yes, sir. I've been blessed with a great high school coach that cares about everyone on the school, everyone in the school, from the teachers to the students to the players, to the other sports programs. He wants everybody to be great, and so with me and my relationship with him, it's just great, man. I feel like I can go to him. I feel like he's another father figure in my life. I can go to him about anything. He can come to me about anything. I can talk to him about really just just anything that I need to talk about with him. And so just having that another father figure in my life that I can go to is great, especially playing for him. It was just a great honor to play with him and just being able for him to put all his trust in me to be able to get wins on Friday.
The interview that we did a couple of weeks ago in Coach Anderson's office received an amazing amount of response from a lot of people that heard your message, heard how you understand you're fortunate because of your upbringing, your parents, and the life you live. I just wanted to know, I don't know if you saw that or not, I wanted you to know that a lot of people were very impressed with what they heard from Kavian Gaither, and of course, if they know you, they know that's who you are as well. Hey, enjoy it. I have to ask, have you been able to, have you cleared what happened Thursday night, or is that still kind of sticking with you?
I'm getting over it day by day. It's still sticking with me, but I just feel like the quote I'm going by is just everything happens for a reason, and I just feel like that moment in that game happened for a reason, whether I know the reason or anybody knows the reason. I just feel like it's only going to motivate me to become a better player and just put that chip on my shoulder, like I've always said.
Hey, good luck, KG. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Good. Congratulations. Committed to Sam Houston State. The Bearcats, Zach Robochik, running back at Troy. And there'll be others from the Central Texas area as well. When we come back, Football Bob on Baylor football. Next on SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco. Check them out on Instagram. You can see a bunch of the cool stuff, or Facebook. You can see a bunch of the cool stuff that they have. Look, Steve Chapman just sent me a text the other day, and they have a special barrel that they're going to have available at the holiday season around Christmas time from Balcones. They went and picked it out themselves. They're always one of the first ones to get, if not the first local store to get the new releases from Balcones, which the last one was the Lineage. Now they're going to have their own line that they're selling exclusively at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, the Christmas special. So go ahead and get ready for that. I'm sure it's going to be fantastic. It's a single malt, aged 5 years, going to be delicious, and it's going to be exclusively at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And look, whatever you need at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, they've got you covered. They got a convenient drive-through window, lots of craft beers in that walk-in fridge. It's awesome. I love Riverbend Liquor and Wine. If you're getting ready for a party, getting ready for doing something, Thanksgiving next week, pop on into Riverbend Liquor and Wine and ask them about the Christmas special. Maybe you can get a bottle on reserve. That way you don't have to worry about it running out too quickly. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, a hidden gem. Check out more, Facebook, Instagram.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Experience award-winning service and expert advice on Ram at Allen Samuels. We'll make sure your Ram experience is everything you expect and more. Now, during the Black Friday sales event, new 2020 Ram Lone Stars feature employee pricing for all, plus 0% for 84 months or up to $3,750 in values. Get an additional $1,000 if you own a competitive brand. No trade-in required. Ram from Allen Samuels.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
Football Bob, FTBLBOB5 on SicEm365.com, and also post something following games, a thorough explanation of what he saw as a football coach and also what he thinks is good, bad, or indifferent at times. Football, great. Gary, good to have you on. We appreciate your time. Oh, man.
Thank you very much.
First of all, as a coach, after another gut-wrenching loss, the way it was in Ames and then what it was like in Lubbock, would you rather play a game this week, or would the bye-off week, whatever you want to call it, be what you would want?
In most seasons, I think you'd rather play the very next week, get it out of your system. But I think any time that they're able to have string practices together with this group, I think that it's an advantage to them, and it can give them hope for what's to come in the future this season.
Gary, on the offensive line, particularly with Xavier Newman-Johnson, he has been struggling a little bit this year, and part of it looks to me when I watch that he's missing his assignments. It's not like he's getting beat necessarily, like he's stepping the wrong way and he's not getting a hit on him. What have you seen from him?
Well, it just looks like to me that in offensive line play, you think about structure of the defense, and basically you work from off the center and out, and it tells you who is going to be responsible for what. And it just looks like to me he's not recognizing structure the way he needs to, because he does make some decisions that just make me scratch my head.
What did you see from Abram Smith replacing Terrell Bernard?
I was really surprised. I know that Abram is a good athlete and that he's a talented young man physically, but I was not prepared for him to really start pulling the trigger and running down the hill and making tackles in the backfield. I was totally impressed with the way he played. Of course, there's some coverage issues that he needs to work on, but doggone it, the guy played against the run just about as well as you can play at linebacker.
You mentioned this in your analysis that came out earlier this week. Xavier Newman continues to lose his base. This means his feet are too close together. Good blockers, whether in drive blocking, pass protection, have a good wide base. They should never allow their feet to cross over each other. He's having this happen a lot, not maintaining his block, whatever. Is that a fundamental thing that should be something is that what it is, or is it something else?
Yes, it's fundamentals. I mean, a good offensive lineman is going to have a great knee, ankle, and hip flexion. They're going to bend their knees, bend their ankles, and bend their hips. And he's playing a little bit too straight-legged. When you play straight-legged, your feet have a tendency to get closer together. And then if the defender moves in a way that you're not prepared for, it's going to make you cross your feet. And when you cross your feet, you're going to have to really be a real good athlete, not to lose your balance and fall down.
Connor Galvin at left tackle. Here's a guy that was highly decorated. And your startup, you say he's been very inconsistent. Times he crushes people, allows the pulling guard and tackle to get downfield. And then there are times when you feel like he's just not, what is it? Is it just not able to sustain play to play?
I don't know. I am a big Connor Galvin fan. I have liked him ever since he came out of Katy High School. I know how well he was coached down at Katy High School. I know those guys personally. And I know what he's been taught. It seems like this year he's gotten high. He's gotten more straight-legged, and he's not being as physical as he probably could be. Now, Connor's never been just a pile-driving drive blocker. I mean, he's always been one of those guys that did it with technique. But even so, his technique probably could use some brushing up. He could be like a lot of kids are, that missed practice time really affects him. He is one of those guys maybe that has to drill to get it honed in. He's always had it honed in before, and I would expect him to be able to do that again.
What did you see from Quaylon Jones and Tate McWilliams? What did you like and what needs work?
Well, a lot of things with Quaylon. I'm going to tell you, I saw snatches last year when he really took off sometimes, but everything I saw from him was good the other night. I think that he just wasn't used to playing that much, and they had to give him some rest. He was wearing out maybe, and so that's why we didn't see him during some really important times in the third and fourth quarter. But he gave everything he could give for the Baylor Bears out there. I was very, very impressed with him. He doesn't have the shake that Squirrel has, or even a guy like Tristan Ebner, but he makes up for it by running through and over people. Tate McWilliams, that young guy, how can you go in there as an 18-year-old, maybe a 19-year-old, and play against these grown guys and be as good as he is? He's from Lamar Consolidated, and I coached against those guys several times. And I'm going to tell you that program produces tough, rugged kids. And I expect him to be very, very good in the future. He made a few mistakes, and maybe he could improve his blocking, but he really showed a lot of heart the other night against Tech.
Quaylon Jones moves the pile. They don't have many that do that. Not even, Lovett obviously was physical, and he's off. You miss him, and Ebner didn't get to play long. You started out one of your paragraphs by saying the Bears made progress on offense and with the offensive line continuing. What progress did they make on the offense? I'm not questioning that. I'm just asking in your opinion through your eyeballs.
They had never run the ball for 200 yards in any game this year. They were running the football with guys that weren't even on the depth chart. They were 3, 4, and 5 deep on the depth chart at the beginning of the year. And they ran the ball for 207 yards. Now, some of that was Charlie Brewer. They were running the quarterback draw really, really well. The offensive line seems to have finally figured that play out, and they were getting good success off that play. But then again, they were running the ball pretty effectively with those backs that they weren't really counting on to make big contributions this year. 207 yards against any defense, and especially against the defense like Texas Tech that's pretty good up front, is a good night for almost any team.
Bob, our defenses in the Big 12 – oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Now, our defenses in the Big 12 getting better? Are we seeing a lot of the creative geniuses just moving on to places like the SEC? Because to me, I definitely see defenses playing harder and all that, but – I just don't think the offenses are as good, especially the lines for most of Big 12 schools.
I think that's probably a good statement, Craig. Are you talking offensive lines or defensive lines?
Offensive lines.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't see any offensive line this year that I've seen so far, and I've seen just about every team by now. I haven't seen any offensive line that really makes me think of the good offensive lines we saw in the past in the Big 12. I think some of them are decent pass protectors. Some of them can run the football pretty well, but very few of them put it together as well as maybe we've seen in the past. I would say Iowa State, of the teams I've seen, probably has the best offensive line. And even those guys, Baylor was able to get to the quarterback several times in that game. So, even the best offensive line is probably struggling right now. But I think the defenses in the Big 12 are getting better as well. I think that started just a couple of years ago when Phil Snow and I can't remember the guy's name up at Iowa State came up with a new style of defense that used a robber safety in the middle and still had 4 other defensive backs out there, and you gave away a little bit in being able to stop the run, but it sure helped the pass, and that extra guy in the middle is a great runner. And so that new idea on defense has really made a big difference in this conference.
You made note in your post this week about Christian Morgan that he had what you said is the best game of his Baylor career, and that's good news, Bob, considering that he'd been struggling.
Oh, I thought 2 weeks ago it was the worst game I'd ever seen him play. His angles were terrible, and I loved hearing earlier in the week, last week, Coach Aranda saying that Christian was really working hard on his angles, on his support angles, and we saw that work pay off this week. Gosh, Christian was just nailing people out there, and it was all because he was at the point of attack when he needed to be at the point of attack, and he took that good body that he has and really put it to quite a few people.
Football Bob with us on Wednesdays at 5:30, looking back at Baylor, and of course it has been tough. You mentioned that you'd rather be back on the field, but again, the opportunity for them, whatever they're able to do, is there anything, and if you were a coach, and this was the bye week, and there's been a lot of talk about Charlie, and Charlie ran the ball very well, unfortunately got stood up and just destroyed at the goal line in what was, I think, a communication where he just didn't see the defensive player, and neither did Dabney, or did not see Charlie behind him. Would this be a week you would give the younger quarterbacks more reps in practice?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it would be good to see those guys get more reps and see what they have. I think that there's a lot of that. In a college atmosphere, a lot of that goes on with almost every position when you have an off week. They kind of take it easier on the guys that have been taking the grind of playing most of the plays, and they try and get the other guys in there. They'll work on some things, especially technique work, less contact, but more foot movement and body position, those kinds of things with the ones. But most of the scrimmage and most of the full go play this week would probably be 2s and 3s getting extra work in because they don't get many game reps.
Paul, Craig?
No, I think that's about it. I think they got a chance to win next week, Bob. I mean, it's a home game. I don't know how much that really matters, but, we've seen them go toe-to-toe. They could very well, and I know they don't, have 4 wins or so right now. I'm not very confident against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, but I think they've got a chance against K-State if they can just put it together. I don't know about you.
I think that K-State's a beatable team. Earlier in the year, I thought they were one of the best in the Big 12, and I think their safety play is improved. They're a balanced offense, very difficult to stop both the run and the pass against anybody. And I think it'll be a tough contest. But, Baylor has always played Kansas State well in McLean Stadium. Going up there is a different deal, but in McLean, Baylor has always handled Kansas State pretty well.
Gary, Football Bob, thank you, man. We appreciate what you do on the site, Sic'em365.com, college football analyst, Football Bob, on Wednesdays at 5:30. Appreciate your time. Have a great week. I just saw this posted on Twitter. It is video of Dede Richards in the gym, in the women's basketball practice gym, all the national title banners in the background, with Jeremy Hefner and Alex Olsen, and she's taking and shooting jump shots going back and forth just a little bit past the free throw line, and it looks like she's doing it very smoothly.
I talked to somebody this morning who works with the Baylor basketball team and said that her recovery is nothing short of amazing, how quick it's been and how, once she kind of got going, once she got that confidence back, she's no longer, when she had to kind of teach herself how to walk again, where her brain was had to get her brain and her feet on the same page. She did that for like a couple days, and then it was like, then she was going so fast that they were trying to tell her to slow down, and she was like, "No, I don't need to. I'm good." So this is great. Usually this injury takes a little bit longer to come back from, but I just a part of it just to me is just that's Dee Dee's spirit that kind of just charges.
She had
through her.
something she loves and something she has fun doing and plays with an amazing amount of passion. Take it away from her for what could have been a long and forever. And the fact that Kim Mulkey on Monday, when she mentioned that she was in her office and Dee Dee was trying to do her final exam work and she was joking, and then she jumped into a defensive drill, which, again, fantastic. And so that's pictures, video of her in the practice gym, taking one shot after another, going back and forth from the free throw line corner and making most of the ones that we see from about, what is that, about a 15-foot jump shot right there as well. All right? Oh, there you go. These guys are amazing. Jack and Armstrong, thank you very much. There you go. There's video. I hope the guy doesn't it's let's see, D. Rich
I believe that's
the
like
GOAT.
her brother.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
Or brother or father. I think it's
yeah,
her
it
brother.
is. Yeah, I think it's his father. I think it's her father.
Yeah.
Yeah. And taking video of her, and I hope we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, it's on Twitter. You're good. We're good.
No, I'm talking about, I hope Baylor wanted that out there as well.
Oh, I mean, he's already out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Tell them to delete it?
Yeah, I mean, so it's fine. By the way, the NBA draft starts in about 40 minutes.
Oh, I better go, guys. See you later.
I mean, so tonight you'll get to see guys. And if you're a fan, the NBA draft is the biggest gut punch in the world, and because there are people who are going to look back in the annals of his, like, kids who don't know and that are Charlotte Hornets fans and be like, we had Kobe Bryant win. And then, no, you had him for about an hour.
So
and then he
dumb.
got traded. So that, and the NBA has not changed that. And for whatever reason, like, they're very progressive about the way they do things. The way that they're going to split up this season, to me, is pretty smart. The way that they got everybody in the bubble, the way that they kind of work with their players, and it's more of a partnership than they're not at odds anymore. Like the NFL and Major League Baseball seem to be with ownership. Like they've got their arms around things, but they still want somebody to put on the wrong hat on draft night. Like, it's a pretty simple switch, man. Just do it.
I know. It is. I don't know how they're going to do it. There were some over-unders that I saw come down. I was going to ask Lee Sterling about it, but we don't have him till Friday. Like, how many people will be in the whatever that room is? The pictures, most everyone will be. I would think there's probably not going to be much of a green room.
I don't think they're going to have one.
It'd be all like somebody, let's say they live in Memphis, and you'll see them in their family room. Or
like the NFL draft. I mean, they did that already.
Yeah.
We've already seen that. We've seen it with MLB draft. We saw it with the NHL draft. Like, I think one of the two, I think they might have had some guys in person, but no, it's going to be like everything else. It's going to be mostly remote, and I'll watch a little bit of it. I'm not super intrigued because there's not really anybody from Baylor or even the Big 12 for really that matter that I'm all that caught up or interested in, but I am curious to see where a lot of these guys go. I do also, though, hate Kobe Bryant in a Hornets uniform or Luka's draft day pictures in a Hawks uniform, even though very clearly he was going to the Mavericks, and Trae Young was in the Mavericks, even though he was very clearly, like, it's so stupid. It's just dumb. And then 15 years from now, we'll have some random picture of like Trae Young in a Mavericks uniform that people will talk about, but it's just, he never was. He was never a Maverick.
By the way, the Mavericks are discussing trading their 18th overall pick to Oklahoma City, who apparently is going to have the whole draft.
Yeah,
when it's all said and done for Gallinari.
Here's another one. Adrian Wojnarowski, Trevor Ariza is being traded by Houston to Detroit.
Oh, it sucks for him.
They're also giving up the 16th overall pick for a future first-round pick. The Rockets, who are a hard cap team has freedom to use their mid-level exception in free agency. Of course, right now they offered Harden $50 million a year.
What?
Said no.
Why does the NBA have to follow their free agency? You have to have a degree in statistics.
I've tried.
Stupid.
I've actually tried. I went on. There was a site that kind of helped explain it, and it just is too much for me.
I feel like I've got to be Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind to figure out what's going on.
It's just take the pictures of the guys once the trade's official. Do it that way. Quit the dumb stuff with you got to wear this jersey to take these pictures. And, the trades were probably going to be, a big topic because that's been the case over the last couple of days. And also, it seems like a lot of teams are really active, including the Rockets right now. So it'll be interesting.
The free agency is going to start up right after this, and then the season is like 2 weeks after free agency.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be like, okay, guess what? I'm going to play in Brooklyn. I got to go.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like you have a couple months to get it all worked out.
All right, thanks to a lot of different people. Jack and Armstrong yet again, even when I'm not even looking at, next thing you know, there's video of Dede Richards hitting jump shots as well. Thanks to our guest today, in Tristan Clark, Scott Drew, Flo Thamba. I get his name mixed up every time I go to say it. Blake Blackmar. There's yet another former player who had been through the 2017 season that was so tough, giving his opinion, and also trying to let everyone understand, hey, that doesn't mean you have to agree with him, or it doesn't mean you're still not frustrated. Just kind of, this is a weird year. And it is not just for Baylor, but for many others, and some are playing at a very high level. Don Hyde of La Vega, thanks to Art Briles, Mount Vernon, Olin Buchanan, Texags, John Machota, Football Bob, and Kavion Gaither, young man from Connolly who's committed to play at Sam Houston State. They're doing pretty well in Central Texas. Brian Bell, China Spring head football coach, went there and played in national championship games. Also, congratulations to Crawford. They're in the Class 2A championship game volleyball on Saturday in Garland. They won it all last year, trying to win back-to-back state championships, 32-3 record, and they're playing Iola for the state championship. That is on Saturday at 1 o'clock. All right? Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate you as well. Armstrong, earlier today, Drake was here to help us out as well. Tomorrow, we'll have Mickey. We'll have
Mac Rhodes tomorrow?
Mac Rhodes, we're working on a time for him tomorrow because he wasn't available yesterday, and a few others as well. For everyone I've mentioned, thank you again for listening. Our great sponsors, we appreciate you as well. David Smoke, this is Sic'em365 Radio. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Have you tried a do-it-yourself program to lose weight? You may not know that in a typical do-it-yourself program, a quarter of the weight you lose is due to muscle breakdown and loss. With COVID harming obese and overweight patients, being at ideal body weight is more important now than ever. Over 30 physicians in Central Texas, tired of seeing patients fail at losing weight themselves, opened Muscle-Wise Nutrition. This is a coach-managed weight loss program that targets fat and spares muscle. The 4 Muscle-Wise locations have taken off over 19,000 pounds from Texas dieters in the last few years. The combination of coaching and weekly body composition analysis to target the fat loss are the keys to success. The coaches teach you how to eat and live a healthy lifestyle. Email Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com today, and the coaches will contact you about their free educational seminars. Do not wait. Email today and start MuscleWise at Sic'em365 at musclewisenutrition.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.